And we are live.
We did it. We made it another week.
Mm-hmm. We are still here, still barely hanging on.
Some more barely than others.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely day for it all.
Yeah, a
Be
refreshing
refreshing.
stream. Yeah,
Hopefully.
that's
No,
definitely the way to
today
do
is
it.
what today is not refreshing. Today is here is your bucket of slop that is everything that Star Citizen has been working on for the last month. It's going to be dense, or as the title. Well, you didn't put it in the title. You put it in the, the announcement. Thick.
Oh
It
yeah,
is a very thick update, like especially with AI. That is going to be.
yeah. They made some major progress on AI. Holy crap! But
And we will be able to show. I think. Well, we might be able to show. I also, at least in the show notes, I left in the squadron report inside the document just to
oh,
show how much was actually cut because it
I
was
accidentally
already
deleted
PU
that.
content. There's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 paragraphs or 10 teams that worked on squadron specific stuff. That wasn't in the normal
I
report.
could have sworn that all of CIG was working on Squadron 42 and no one was working on the PU. I could have sworn that's what everybody was telling me. Hmm.
Hmm.
Weird. Well, anyway, uh, we are back. I am Tree0311, Tree0311, and I'm here with my, as always, partner in crime.
Hello everyone, I am Nazeris as always.
And we are the Pathfinders, and we are charting the way through all the nebulous information surrounding Star Citizen and its development. '07, Robert Vose. '07, Makeneer. Thank you for joining us and hanging out live.
I
Appreciate
like
you guys.
how we call it the nebulous like whatever you just said nature of the development of Star Citizen. Like it is. I'm not gonna like deny that, but they are so open about everything. Like we have too much information. That's why it's so hard to keep track of everything.
Exactly. Yep. There's so
Like,
much. It's like having a lot of ingredients in a soup, and there's so
hmm
much stuff in there. You're like, I don't even know what's in this soup or whatever. And there's so much in here and so much good stuff, but I can't keep track of everything.
yeah, it's like the opposite of like No Man's Skies because No Man's Skies has no roadmap. No one has no idea when they're going to stop making these giant game-changing updates to the game. They've brought it not only back from its terrible launch and death almost to way past what people were expecting at launch, and no one has communicated literally anything since the game's release, and they just keep going. Star Citizen, they'll tell you some things a year in advance, some things several years in advance, and some things 6 months in advance, or some things like a day after it happens. Uh,
Ooh,
so
making
like there's
here.
so
Just
much
saw,
stuff.
got the alert. Thank you for the sub, dude. I appreciate it. Before we move on, little channel plug. Just a reminder that everything that we do on my channel, both here and on YouTube, goes straight to charity. So any and all monetization that is received goes straight to charity. You can also donate directly to stackup.org via the link in the chat up the little top thing. Or maybe it's off to the side. I'm not looking at it. But you can donate directly. But when I get to the $50 minimum payout for Twitch, I'll do the payout and I'm going to match it with $50 of my own money. And we will donate together $100 to Stack Up. And I will post the statement, receipt, what have you, in my Discord and on my Twitter for all to see to show you what we've accomplished. So, Making
Nice.
here, thank you for the sub. That gets me closer to that initial monetization goal of $50, so that way we can cash it out and give it to where it needs to go. So thank you, buddy. But on that note, we also have an exciting announcement for next week's episode, and I'm going to let Nazeris take the lead with that one, and I'm going to run and put something back in the fridge.
All right. Yeah. So next episode next week is our 30th episode. And it was not planned actually to have it also on the 30th episode, just how time worked. But we have our first guest coming on next week. It's going to be Shiny Hobo, the creator, developer, and upkeeper of the Shiny Tracker, the thing we use every other week when Roadmap Roundup reviews, or R3. And so, yeah, we're going to have our first guest. And so we have planned some things. We haven't written anything down, like questions we want to ask. If you guys have questions for him, then go to Tree's Discord and tell us your questions. I believe you have a specific channel for discussing things in the podcast.
We have a separate category specifically for the Pathfinders podcast. And in there, there's a specific channel that you can post a question. I'll pin it. And that way, if you have questions that you want to direct to Shiny Hobo, we will be happy to ask them after, of course, they go through our filters. Yeah, we're really excited to talk to him because, like, a lot of what Nazeris and I have picked up about the Delta report and what's the other one called? The deliverables report, I think.
There's progress and there's release.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about the other side of the Shiny Tracker specific.
Yeah,
I think it's just I think it's Delta and release.
Yeah, because you're
right. Scheduled deliverable. You're right.
Oh, okay, sweet. But yeah, Nazeris and I have our own questions because a lot of what we know and what we use it for has been like just trial and error and asking around and stuff. And so it'll be really interesting to hear from the horse's mouth on. How did this come about? And, what all can you give us a rundown of how this information is presented so that way, everybody has an understanding, of what information is available to them. Because not only do you have the progress tracker and the release view and the monthly reports, but with the Shiny Tracker, you can put a lot of really good contextual information up with the things on the progress tracker and in the monthly reports, so you can set your expectations appropriately. And if hype is deserved, then sweet, and if not, temper your expectations. But it's a really good way to corroborate your what you see with actual data, because there are limitations to the progress tracker. Jake will be the first one to tell you he's got things that he wants to do with it, but the way that it's programmed, he can't do everything he wants with it. And so it portrays some of the information that it's given, not all of the information. And the information on the back end is what Shiny Hobo puts out in front of us.
I think one of my biggest questions for him is why? What made you do this? Yeah. Why are you developing this tool? Like,
how did you find out that this was here?
Yeah, like, what made you want to do this? Like, we already have a good enough roadmap, like a much deeper roadmap than any other game I've seen. Why do this? So I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, it'll be good information, and we'll interview Shiny Hobo to start off next week's episode, and then after that we'll go into the Roadmap Roundup itself. And we don't have any other content planned for that episode, just because it is right before I leave for work again. So between the interview and the roadmap, that'll be the episode. So it could be short. We'll just have to wait and see on Wednesday, how much information we get on the Roadmap Roundup from Jake, and what changes there are. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I want to thank Nazeris publicly, as I've already thanked him privately, for lining this up, because he's the one who, reached out to Shiny Hobo and has been talking to him, and
I have to just thank Shiny Hobo for just appearing out of nowhere onto both of our Discord. I'm like, Do you want to be on an episode? He's like, yeah, I can do that.
I am the shiny one. I am here.
Yeah, he just kind of appeared.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool beans.
Well, on that note, why don't we get into the monthly reports? And Nazeris is going to do his thing as he usually does, with getting us started off and providing us the proper context for reading these things. So let me switch you over into, because what I'll do is I have the PU report up on screen, and as we go through, I'll scroll through that. That way everybody can sort of see where we are and what we're talking about. Because the other thing is there's the imagery in the.
Yeah.
The
do you also report. Have the squadron one or no?
Yeah, let me do that real quick before I switch us over. That way I can, if there's one thing, if we're looking at one of them specifically, I can track it down. Let's see, squadron. There it is. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome. That's why there's two of us here.
Yes, two brains.
You have a brain cell. I have a brain cell.
When we rub them together, it creates static electricity, and
we both get electrocuted instead of just one of us.
All right, and switching us over in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! All right.
Ta-da! All right, man, that's a beautiful image. So as I like to do at the start of all of these document reading things, is I like to read the headers because these are straight from CIG, and they're kind of a really good preface to each document that we read. So on the monthly or the PU monthly report side, October 2022. Welcome to October's PU monthly report. With many of the teams having completed their work for the upcoming IAE event and 318 release, progress was made on tasks for early next year and beyond. Read on for the latest developments on AI behavior, ongoing engine improvements, Arena Commander, and more. And then on the squadrons,
is actually the perfect example of what you just talked about. Like a lot of people getting their 318, the 318 work is done, and they're moving on to bigger and better things for next year. Like that. That's cool.
It's crazy that like 319's already being worked on, guys. Mm-hmm. They're like most of the companies now moving to 319.
Yeah, to 319 and beyond.
319 plus, because a lot of developers, like all the network people, are on 4.0. They are not on 319. They are strictly going to be working on server meshing. Anyway, on the squadron side, 2 Squadron 42 recruits. Subject, development update, 11/02/2022. Ref, CIG UK, CGDE, CIGLA, CIGTX. FA, I don't know what FAO is. What's the FAO? You should know this one.
Oh, dang.
You're the guy who doesn't know these things.
In the military.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look.
What you think of that? Okay. Squadron 42 recruits. Welcome to October's Squadron 42 development report. Not month report, development report. Included, you will find the details on the latest progress made across the campaign, including updates to alienating executions, saving and loading, and outlaw interactions. Thank you for your continued support for Squadron 42. Sincerely, CIG Communication. What you
got? Let's see. For the attention of
Squadron 42 recruits. That makes sense.
Yes.
All right. As always, I split each of the team, or didn't split the teams. I divided the team. How do you English? I gave some of the teams to Tree and some of the teams to me to read through, starting from the engine. So I have the engine bit and then disseminating up the tree. So that normally always leaves me with the first one being AI content. I'm so glad it's AI content because AI feature is a mile long. Tree's going to cover AI feature, so this is what AI content did. Throughout October, the AI content team progressed with the vendor and patron behavior. I imagine this is not only an extension of, but a slight rewrite of the first vendor we had in the game, because this is a behavior now. And they've been talking about behaviors for a while. And behaviors are, as I said a couple of shows ago, a few shows ago now, they are not just animations, they're not just actions, they are a bundle of animations, actions, interactions, and just gameplay possibilities, specifically from the NPC's perspective. So, realizing the full flow of NPCs ordering, carrying, consuming food, and drinks. That is what the vendor and patron are. The behavior is. So not just one thing; it's a whole bundle of them. This gives them a sense of life and purpose, as well as always busy doing something, which will be really good. I think like the one place I'm really looking forward to this behavior specifically is ArcCorp. I don't really care about this in Babbage. I much rather see like factory work behaviors in Hurston, but this in ArcCorp I'm really excited to see. Progress continued on the utility behaviors. Another behavior. They just rolling these things out. With AI characters opening crates, taking out items, and putting items in. Sweet, that will be nice for the cargo refactor and progressing. This was a surprisingly complex task, but the various elements are now working well together. Other tasks involve polishing the quartermaster behavior. We mentioned that last month. Making animation, pose updates, setting up wildlines, overhauling documentation, and prototyping food eating. Specifically for why is the quartermaster getting his own prototype food behavior or food segment of his behavior? They also began work on Chapter 15, which is a rundown location with a different feel from other areas.
I wonder if it's because he's probably the quartermaster is like eating at his desk or his station versus like in the mess hall.
Yeah, do quartermasters not eat in the mess hall?
Well, yeah, like if he could and everything in his off time, but because of like when you remember from the vertical slice, you meet with the quartermaster and he's there handing out weapons. He's behind his desk. There's probably only a handful, like maybe 2 or 3 people who take that duty. And so like they probably, on a ship the size of the Stanton, they would probably have their meals brought to them while they're on duty. So they would, or like their lunch. So like you would, the way shifts overlap, like you would go get your breakfast before you go on shift. And then you're on shift for 8 hours. Someone would bring your lunch to you. And then when you get off, you go eat dinner and you have your downtime before you go to bed.
That's cool. Yeah, that would be actually really cool if they had that. Making here eventually
doing his paperwork, eating a snack, and
yeah. Ooh, eating and like reading a document. That'd be actually like a scene. Mm-hmm. Hoping they'll eventually be able to interact with those personal forklifts and such that you can have vehicles available when moving for brownies. The answer is almost definitely yes. They wouldn't keep putting them in landing zones if they weren't going to be used eventually. And around Cousin Crows in Orison, there is one moving a box. Not dynamically, it is just a box on top of a giant moving forklift truck thing. But I almost guarantee that the vehicles we have around our hangars will be eventually usable. But first we need cargo refactor, and then we need cargo refactor tier 2 or tier 1, because we're getting tier 0 cargo refactor in 318. So, yes. All right, and that brings us to AI feature with Tree0311.
Alrighty. So the reason you're seeing me on screen and I'm looking over in this direction is because that's where I have OBS and our show notes up on screen. So that's where
I'm actually just sitting next to him, and he's just looking.
Yeah. Yeah, we have our desks right next to each other.
I mean, speed of light and all.
Yeah. So AI features. AI features. Last month, the AI animator, and everybody get comfortable because this is a long one. The AI teams.
Long. You want to switch back over to the month report? The PU one?
Yeah. Yep. Good call. Yeah.
So they can see the monstrosity.
The AI teams have been going nuts, especially in this month report, but also going forward. Like it seems like they've overcome some obstacles in their workflow has gone up dramatically. But
Yeah,
let's go ahead
they
and get
looked
started.
at Montreal and like, take my beer, hold my
Yeah,
beer.
we can do that. We're good. So last month, the AI animators continued to refine Vandal execution animations to ensure they're perceived as strong and impactful from the first-person perspective. Are better suited to be played on the spot if the attack occurs in a cramped space, are more believable to be deflectable by the player, and allow players to escape or attack once deflected. So they are polishing these. These behaviors have been done for a long time. We've seen them in engine before quite a while ago, and they are further polishing them because that's where they are with Squadron 42 for much of the game. And that's what a lot of this work is the AI feature team going in and polishing the work that has already been at a tier 1, tier 2, whatever, version 1, version 2 level, and getting it up to gold standard ready to ship. On the perception system side, the AI team implemented functionality to allow them to rate and respond to disruptions, which are unexpected scenarios that can be resolved. For example, the lights of a room turning off or an engine being disabled. Players can use this mechanic to try and disrupt NPC behaviors when they haven't been detected, giving them the opportunity to better infiltrate the level by avoiding patrols and sentries. So you're turning off the light, you're doing things such as in the next line throwing an object, making noise, interfering with working equipment in order to disrupt that NPC's routine, the AI routine. Players can also use distractions, actions that trigger audio stimuli such as throwing an object to cause NPCs to leave their positions to investigate. So this is a lot of stuff that is so players can do stealth behaviors, and mess with the AI behaviors and the AI routines. We had to ensure that these events are propagated out to all the agents within the appropriate area, that they are handled by the perception system, rated against the current threat level, and that the correct behaviors are implemented to resolve the disruptions. The resolution may involve agents going to investigate the source of the disruption, or alternatively, if too many disruptions have occurred, to increase their alertness level. This means that they may take out their weapons, say specific alertness level wild lines, or respond quicker to subsequent events. We also had to take into consideration that the immediate source of the disruption may not be what the NPC wants to investigate. For example, the agent may perceive that a light goes out, but they would want to investigate the light switch that controls the light, and ultimately, if they don't encounter the player, turn the light back on again. AI features team. So this is really cool systemic behaviors. A lot more complicated than just throwing a rock or a stick to the other side of the room and getting to walk over there.
That's totally a thing they can do.
Yeah, you can not only do that, but it takes it a lot further. I really think it's interesting that if you are tripping all over things and making noise, like you're going to continue to escalate their alertness level, and based on what their alertness level is, what will dictate their reactions to disturbances. So if you've been clumsily bumbling around through the environment and narrowly, jumping back into the shadows or whatever when they walk by, they're going to be hyper alert, and their reaction to a disturbance is going to be different than it would be if they're, just chilling on watch.
We've come so far since Skyrim's putting a bucket on NPC's head.
I'm gonna put a bucket on the NPC's head, and I'm gonna kill every chicken in this village.
Like, this is gonna come up a lot. I'm gonna say this a lot for today's month. Like, everything I read in AI as of late, like past 6 months or more, has reminded me of something in Hitman. So, even though in Hitman everything is on a loop, and that's for gameplay reasons, everything that Star Citizen is doing has that same kind of texture to it. That's a terrible way of describing, but the same texture as all the NPCs there, but it's dynamic. So where you do something, let's say drop something in Hitman, they'll notice. If you shut off a light in Star Citizen, they're gonna notice. So if you're making noise, if you're running into things, if you're jumping on things, they're gonna notice. And I'm curious. Let's see. Megan Ear said, "I'm curious as to if this will include false alarms, which players do not cause. If it does, that could bring an entirely new gameplay element to the table. That is definitely up to the designers, because designers dictate basically everything that happens in a level.
Mm-hmm.
If they bake in the ability for other things to interact with each other in the same level, so something else setting off an NPC, then the answer is yes.
I think a cool scenario to think about in that regard would be maybe not in Squadron 42, but in the PU, where your where equipment will essentially have probabilities, that change
Mhm.
based off of like maintenance, and we all know that like for space stations, and the UGFs locations, other stuff like that, you're going to have to there will be maintenance jobs to do in order to keep the resource management for that location functioning. Well, if pirates are doing a poor job of maintaining their station and something fails in a room, the power goes out, or a piece of machinery stops working, it could have absolutely nothing to do with you, and you're trying to sneak through, and all of a sudden it gets on high alert because the lights went out, or a pipe burst, something ridiculous like that had nothing to do with you, and you're like, well, god damn it, what am I supposed to do about that?
Imagine going up to a Kraken, and Kraken is like my favorite ghost ship. Like, I have my favorite ship, but my like one that would put the same like height of my favorite is the Kraken. And you stealthily get up to it, and the security inside, the pirate security inside, doesn't know you're outside. You don't alert the inside security, and you hack the lights out. Then they're on alert. The ship is dark. Like, just that, the fact that that's not a player that's got spooked by the lights going out, that's the NPC getting spooked. Like, this game.
I've been waiting my entire life for this moment.
This game is just huge and dense and just amazing. It just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, well, and it's
Sell
bigger,
the chickens
but it's getting bigger
storms.
systemically, and that's what I like.
It's getting like it's getting recursively deeper. It's what I mean. Like it's not getting like wider and wider because they know what they're aiming for. The problem is we haven't seen the edge. It's kind of like the known universe. We haven't seen the edge of not the known universe, the edge of the universe yet. So we just assume that it keeps growing as we discover more things farther out. Same kind of thing with Star Citizen. The entire breadth was not accurately portrayed. So they're like, oh, by the way, we're working on bed sheets now. It's like, what do you need bed sheets for? Feature creep. No, there was always a plan to look into this thing. They just never got around to telling us because they don't even know all the stuff.
These things aren't bespoke one-time use. Like they're developing these things, so they're not going to use it for just this one scene in Squadron 42. It's a systemic behavior and series of behaviors and traits that will be applied to the PU and can interact with all sorts of other different things, that the designer never intended. I mean, they intended for these things to interact, but never, okay, I never anticipated that combination occurring, but lo and behold, here we are. If you think Skyrim makes for good YouTube clips for weird random things happening, Star Citizen is going to go far above and beyond that with just the infinite combination of what the fucks, that'll happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where were we? So October also saw AI implement rocket launcher and railgun handling. So this is important because they are also, well, actually, we'll get to that. So for rocket launchers, NPCs have to consider if the shot will cause explosive splash damage to friendly agents. This check can be disabled using the friendly fire trait to enable more reckless enemies. That's cool as F. For the railgun, they changed how the behavior works in cover. Now NPCs will start charging the weapon while in cover before emerging to fire. For both of these weapons, the team disabled the standard check to see if the weapon can hit the target, so enemies will continue to fire at the target even when in cover. This allows the player to see that these weapons are being fired nearby and respond accordingly rather than being immediately hit upon leaving cover. As part of this work, they also reviewed the existing shouldered weapon animations. Continuing with weapon usage, and I'm going to talk about this here in a minute once we get done with the AI features. Continuing with weapon usage, AI features implemented how NPCs pick up weapons and ammunition during combat. Enemies are under the same ammunition constraints as the player, requiring them to conserve it and use other weapons when they run out. NPCs will evaluate the best course of action in this situation, including switching to their secondary weapon, picking up ammunition, or finding a new weapon altogether. When looking for ammunition, they could take it from boxes, out of loose weapons, or from stowed weapons on dead or incapacitated characters, including your friends. When looking,
You're gonna steal our stuff.
Yeah. When looking for weapons, they could get them from racks, find them around the area, or take them from other characters. To implement this, weapons were set up as usables, which allows the AI to search for the best usable that can provide ammo or a weapon. The team has had to modify the usable system slightly, including adding support for usables that supply themselves, loose weapons, or ammo, and ensuring that usable alignment positions are correctly aligned with gravity when the weapon or ammo falls. For non-combat AI, the team worked on functionality to support NPCs moving cargo from one location to another, including picking up crates, stacking them on a trolley, moving the trolley to a destination, such as cargo hold, and then taking them off the trolley and restacking them. An existing prototype was also adapted with new tech to provide behaviors that can be used in varying locations to bring them to life. They also refined their tools to generate better quality cover. This included making cover generation more robust to edge cases and support recognition of cover over a certain distance from identified cover edges. This allows cover to be generated in a greater range of areas. Finally, AI features took the first steps towards implementing Buddy AI that will support gameplay where the player is accompanied by one or more characters. We're getting human pets.
Die.
To begin with, they made a rapid prototype featuring some of the functionality that might be required to generate conversations about what the final form of this would be and how it will fit into gameplay. So, before we move on, these behaviors for the railguns and the rocket launchers, they've been talking about in the monthly reports recently about NPCs on the ground being able to target vehicles. That's what this is for. They want NPCs on the ground, whether they're defending a UGF or they're dropping in reinforcements, using that new behavior. They want them to be able to target vehicles with rocket launchers and railguns. So your ship can and will get blown out of the sky from the ground.
Not just from turrets.
Yeah, and not just from turrets. They're working on this because NPC AI is going to be getting a lot more performant very quickly with the changes to servers, both from 3.18 and then beyond all the way to 4.0. So they want these behaviors in and working so that way the PvE gameplay feels very real and visceral. Your NPCs aren't going to have infinite ammo anymore. They're going to be able to pick up ammo from around the environment. If their buddy goes down, they can pick up his weapon, grab his ammo. How systemic this behavior is effing nuts. No one does this. It's just crazy to me that, they'll be able to pick up a weapon or pick up the ammo from just about anywhere, if they know that it's there, in order to stay in the fight versus just giving them unlimited ammo.
I think they do limited ammo in Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
But nowhere near the searching for a new gun. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They just cower after that.
Right in here, this is all the cargo factor. This is them getting ready for freight elevators and for...
I actually imagine that paragraph is not tier 0.
No. What we're getting is tier 0. This is for tier 1 cargo factor.
This is the next
Yeah.
4.0 possibly,
Yeah, when freight elevators come into the game, because there's a freight elevator in every hangar at space stations and spaceports. When those come into the game and you have cargo to unload, this is how NPCs are going to be doing it. And initially they're going to be doing, using trolleys for handling smaller cargo. But as things progress, this is the beginning of it. They're also, I guarantee you over the next couple months, they're going to talk about NPCs using usables to move larger cargo containers, because obviously trolleys will be for smaller containers and such. But yeah, as well as for outposts, these are behaviors that you're going to see, it next year probably as the cargo factor progresses, and we get those cargo missions that they were talking about. The better quality cover, that's should be really cool. Just these NPCs using more things for cover versus just a wall or a pillar. Being able to use more things to take cover from, so their combat behaviors are more realistic. The buddy system, implementing a buddy AI, to me that absolutely screams and is an obvious hint at NPC crew.
Yep, that's what I was thinking exactly.
Okay,
this is the seeds of NPC crews.
Yep, the very beginning, they're going to start small. You'll get be able to have one or two to help you in your cuddy, or your freelancer, that sort of thing.
At simple, like, specific tasks. They won't be like, hey, you're a crew member of this ship, find something to make yourself useful. It's, hi, do that thing right there. Like, cover me when I'm in combat. And then you gotta give it, pick up these crates now, and load them, like, very simplistic commands. Not, use your behaviors to figure out what you need to be doing.
Yeah. One or more characters. So where the player is accompanied by one or more characters. So
yeah,
like that is a not so subtle way of saying they are doing they're just getting started prototyping NPC crew. But
I think my favorite part in this is, where'd it go? Talking about the players taking cover. Quest now is right before that. Ah, yes. For both of these weapons, the team disabled the standard check to see if weapon can hit the target, so enemies will continue to fire at the target even when in cover. This allows the player to see that the weapons are being fired nearby and respond accordingly rather than being immediately hit upon leaving cover. This is a game designer's job. This right here is there was a problem that the player did not understand where they were or how much danger was around him, and then he got shot and killed out of nowhere. In Uncharted, they actually fixed this a completely different way, and they just said the first two shots of any enemy miss entirely. So you pop out of, in Uncharted, you pop out of cargo, you pop out of cover, they miss, you're like, they're over there. You then shoot them. And you can pop back down, pop back up, they'll miss. And you can kind of game it, but it's there so you have the information you need to be the hero of the game. And this one, I think it's a really cool, but not using the same kind of thing. They're just going to fire at you more while you're in cover, so one's over there, there's a bigger thing over there. And so you can say, well, are the sounds coming closer? Are they pushing in? Or do I need to find more cover? Or can I just pop out of cover and get them? So that's a really cool way of doing that. And I like seeing design. And that is seeing design right there.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And AI tech. Back to you, Nazeris, for AI tech.
The next book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just crazy. Like, and I mean, this is stuff that obviously they are building for Squadron 42, but also building for the PU. You can see, okay, yeah, I'm sure that these things are definitely necessary for Squadron 42, but, not difficult to move them over to the PU. And these are definitely behaviors that they want to have ready to go for the PU when the AI, when server tick rate comes up, when they increase AI NPC populations, I'm just how these how the combat missions that we get and that we do are going to change, you know, with just what they're talking about right now, it's just crazy to think about. You know, like literal NPCs doing combined arms to kill you and your friends. You know,
Or to work alongside you. Maybe you're helping them.
yeah.
For Squadron specifically, we know there's at least one major space combat thing, so you're going to be flying with a lot of friends
AI right now. You know, so yeah, you might get a mission to go support. You know, at these.
I mean, heck,
UGFs or what have you.
Xenothreat next time, next time they do it, they want to make sure that you can choose either side. So imagine instead of just fighting the players fighting them, you're the ones taking out the Starfarers.
Yeah.
You're flying in a formation of Xenothreat people taking out Starfarers. Like, just ghosts. Okay. AI tech. There's so much we could talk about. Last month, the AI tech team made several usability improvements to the Apollo subsumption tool. Not the ship. Just want to make sure it's not the ship. It's the tool. Apollo subsumption is the tool.
I literally zeroed in on that word as I was reading through the monthly report. I was like,
it's not the ship. It's not the ship. It's not the ship. I don't know why I keep doing this to us. I'll just name stuff like this just to mess with us. It's because they're easy and in mind is. This includes updating the multigraph with feature folders and functions to allow organization from the outline view. For example, the designers are now able to move graphs to different folders directly from the outline view panel. They can now drag a node connection into an empty section of the graph to open the drop-down menu that allows them to create a new task. Basically, it's just way more usable. It works a lot more like a flow graph and plus the Windows file structure. Super simple. Love it. At least that's what I see according to this paragraph. Minor usability improvements were made too, including allowing all the entries in the outline view to collapse and the addition of new filter fields in the variable tree view. This seems to be like an initiative throughout the entire company to make their tools more usable and kind of consistent. I don't know. There was a sentence there before the next sentence and I lost it. Anyway, they talked about possibly licensing tech that they made a long time ago. This might be a push to make sure that the tools that they may license in the future are usable for people that are not CIG employees.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, and I would anything made in Star Engine, I would just be watching like a hawk. Star Wars, a Star Trek, Skyrim, I don't care what it is. Anything made with the Star Engine and its tools, even one of the tools, I'd be interested in at least watching the development. Like, could you imagine Halo, the next Halo in Star Engine?
Whew.
That'd be really cool to see Reach done up in Star Citizen quality.
Oh gosh.
Before the glassing.
I am very, very ready to get a ODST 2.
Oh, that'd be a real good one.
Yeah, but out of Star Engine and everything that they have built. Yeah, because then we would actually get our goddamn nail drop pods.
Yeah, I think like a perfect one would be Star Wars, just because. Like,
with the
big part of Star Wars is what's not happening in the spotlight. Like, that's like why a lot of people like the Han Solo character, is because he's not, like, he represents the wider universe that's happening. Not just the Jedi versus the Sith, the Rebels versus the Alliance. Like, there's families, there's upper echelons, there's classism. Like, there's a whole bunch of other things happening on each of these worlds independently. And I think Star Engine would be perfect for that kind of a game, just to, like, give you the Star Citizen universe to play it. But I think Disney and whoever else is way too scared to actually do it. Where was I? They also extended the grab view with new custom view styles. This is currently used to allow Apollo to open, visualize, and edit master graph files that were previously managed by hand. Yay, usability again. That sounds like a really big one. For perception, the team worked on supporting audio noise levels and audio masking. Audio noise level and masking audio noise level, and I don't know how to read that one. Ensures that the audio stimuli that don't pass the background noise. I can read. I really swear I can read. Don't pass the background noise won't be heard by listeners. New tools were implemented to allow the designers to configure the audio noise level in an area and the type of sound that should be considered normal in that area.
It's definitely working an awful lot on the stealth stuff. So that way, if you're sneaking around and it's a noisy, machinery room, like imagine you're sneaking through the Archon station or whatever, and there's all sorts of machinery and things coming and going and moving around. Just because you make a noise doesn't mean someone will hear you.
Yeah, I think that was the most ridiculous part of the first Pyro demo, the Babbage to Pyro demo, where like, oh, this is a clean computer lab thing. Let me pull out my welder and open this door. Just like, they're gonna hear you. Okay. Audio masking makes sure that particular audio stimuli are not perceived as anomalous. For example, explosions in a field where fireworks are tested. This allows the player to use environments as audio cover for performing actions. For example, firing weapons near shooting range, as to not alert NPCs. Sweet. That's dynamic. It's nice. Like, I want there to be a mission. CIG, if you ever hear this, I want there to be a mission. Maybe like on an 890 or something. It's an assassination mission. And there's a big band playing. Okay? Classical big band playing. And you have to time your shot with the music. So as the crescendo hits, you take there's a Leverage episode where they did that. Where they used the crescendo of the song to blow out the floor.
Oh gosh, I remember that show. That was a good show. That was a long time ago.
There's a sequel series going on.
Oh.
Yep.
Really?
Leverage Redemption, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm very anxiously waiting. I hope that they take everything they did in season 1 and just more for the next season. Gotta try not to spoil anything. Not spoiling it. Moving on. The team implemented light extensions to action areas. These enable the designers to link light groups to an area and automatically calculate whether the state of the environment should be light or dark. This impacts the time NPCs require to perceive a target, making it easier to stay hidden in darker areas. So that'll be really nice for UGFs. I think UGFs came into the game way too soon. All this stuff is so good for them. Like, going down a dark corridor means that people can't see you all that well. They're like, is there somebody in there? But if it's, like, lit and you, like, pass someone's perception, like, their view, like, they're gonna see ya. So, having that light or dark mode action areas is really cool. Okay, and then AI tech also extended the system that allows the visibility of large objects, such as vehicles. They split this up weird. There's a quote here, and then it continues about this feature. It says, large vehicles can be seen at further distances, but we need to avoid approaches that cost too much on the CPU, such as doing raycast for every long distance. To prevent this, we can now describe the visibility of a large object depending on the degree of view angle. Basically, at which distance it has a specific size from the observer's perspective. AI tech team. The wizards smart. They are. Basically, instead of the computer saying, point at that thing, give me all the data on the distance between me and it, they just say, what is the degrees of view that takes up? Instead of raycasting all the way. Raycasts are expensive. I don't know why it's the bane of GPUs, but it's expensive. I mean, CPUs as well. They're just expensive. Like, ray tracing is raycasting on steroids. It's expensive. Not even NVIDIA does full ray tracing. They just do a form of it. They're actually much better versions of ray tracing than NVIDIA's. Anyway. This allows the team to defer the discovery phase of which objects are within range. How does that even work? This allows the team to defer the discovery phase of which objects are within range of large objects. Sure, that's a sentence. This utilizes one query, which then allows each individual to correctly verify the occlusion of the object. Yes, seeing big objects at distances, calculating behaviors correctly. Where to go? The parameters of the visual field of view were also extended to be overwritable based on the AI state. For example, allowing pilots to see at a greater distance and visually target on-foot characters. We're going to get shot from the ground by a railgun, and from the sky, and the Valkyrie guns, or the steel guns.
Well, remember when they mentioned the behavior, the vehicle behavior, where they're going to be able to strafe stations?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for an NPC in an Ares Inferno to strafe me and my crew on the ground. And what a glorious way to die. Like, I won't even be mad, you know. Like, CIG figured this out. It's a systemic behavior. You know, the NPCs on the ground are telling the NPCs in the air that I'm over here and to go put bullets in my general direction, and they're going to do it. Like,
the biggest problem with an Inferno coming at you is, as far as I've seen so far, they are very particular about putting ships in scenarios. And if they don't want a ship to feel like or look like, basically it's like a intense branding. If the ship was not built for X thing, they want it doing nothing like that thing. So I don't, like, it's possible the dynamicness might just override to do it, but Inferno's not supposed to be used for ground firing.
Except for the image of where it's shooting at a tank.
Is it really? Yeah, it was doing that.
Yeah.
A tank, but not infantry.
It's an A10. I can tell you right now that I've used an A10 to strafe humans. and it's very effective. Yep. What is all this pink stuff all over the ground? Oh, yeah, now you know. Oh.
Let's see, where are we? The team continued extending navigation links to support the main functionalities. Firstly, they enabled usable routing to function with entity links to allow door panels that are linked to a door to be correctly used by NPCs. This allows them to understand which panel they should use to trigger the right interaction. That sounds like a no-brainer, but I'm glad they have it now. I guess this is mainly for not connected panels to their door, and I imagine this will also be needed for engineering and manually overriding doors. Secondly, they exposed a way to define the cost of nav links based on specific conditions, such as increasing the cost of valuing when a character isn't alerted or walking. What?
The cost for vaulting.
Oh, cost of vaulting. What did I valuing? Vaulting. Cost of vaulting when a character isn't alerted or walking. Yes, thank you. Those costs allow the system to describe how preferable actions are from the NPC's perspective. For example, a character couldn't vault, which is a physically demanding action if not needed, or wouldn't vault.
Yeah, if they're just walking around patrolling through an environment, they're not going to vault over a piece of cover or a box. Just
okay,
it's in the way, the Pathfinder around it.
With this ability that they have now, I think ArcCorp is my favorite city, I guess, because I keep thinking about it. At least with the background, there needs to be a young adult-ish group that is just free runners in ArcCorp. If you ever played Mirror's Edge, like they just are running and vaulting and just parkouring over everything all the time.
Parkour.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. Make it happen, CIG. Make it happen. Oh, yes. I want free runners. I want Mirror's Edge now. Like we have almost Mirror's Edge with the new traversal stuff they showed at CitizenCon. Let's see. Next, work began on properly allowing NPCs to drive vehicles. They couldn't before? I mean, I haven't seen them drive, so I guess.
Yeah, ground vehicles.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they can properly drive now. The team are currently verifying the setup of a selection of vehicles to use as reference. They also set out the code to switch to the right nav mesh when driving a vehicle and selected the right path follower.
We're going to get a Xenothreat ground event where they're going to bring in like M2s and Valkyries with like 200 NPCs and a couple of tonks and God knows what else. And they're just going to wreck.
Like, I didn't read it yet. I'm really anxious to see what the Arena Commander bit is down here. But all this AI tech, AI features, I want to see Star Marine V2. I want to see PvE Star Marine maps. I want to see Theaters of War with bots. They can drive tanks now. They can shoot from ground to air, air to ground. All this says they can do basically everything you do in Theaters of War. It's a good place to test their AI. Theaters of War. And finally, for AI tech, the team worked on the locomotion refactor, which involved integrating current work into different streams to begin stabilizing bugs. They also experimented with foot locking during MoveNet and are currently verifying how to use this functionality on various aspects of locomotion, such as during the sharp turns. They also implemented the first frame adjustment for the seamless transition code to improve the entering of usables. This will also play a significant animation at a specific locomotion with a specific pose. Sentences. They keep going. I hope that this usable thing actually happens for players too, because I'm really done with the play animation. Animate. I really hate it. I want them to just blend into the animation really bad.
Yeah,
like I thought we had that.
Smoothness is very jarring at times.
I mean, it's literally jarring. That is like the word for it. And then after that, we are on to AI Vehicle, which is the refreshingly short paragraph by Tree0311.
All right, so that is part of the Squadron 42 report. So let's pull that up. AI Vehicles. Last month, AI Vehicles worked with Flight Design to deliver a turret battle that occurs early in the campaign. Squadron 42 leak. That's all I'm going to say. This involved reworking Wave 0 that will be used as the standard for the rest of the waves during the whole chapter. This includes a new behavior that consists of Vandal ships attacking the Javelin turret by picking stunt splines placed by the designers. Oh, snap. This is going to be cool to see. In addition, they completed various support tasks for the designers working in different flight-based chapters. And that is it for AI Vehicles. Back to you for animation.
Animation. Last month, the animation team began discussing bringing creatures into the PU. Finally! How many years? Hold on. How many years has it been? Star Citizen. Oni. What was it? The Oni. The Oni crab?
The blind Oni crab?
Yeah. Can't type. No, not that. Accessibility. Give me it. Oni crab, no, not the pyro crab. The blind Oni crab. When was that announced? 4 years
Put it
later.
up on screen.
In 2021, it was 4 years ago. So 5 years ago. At the earliest, it was 5 years ago. Or at the latest, it was 5 years ago.
I wonder if they're going to be the first ones that we see.
Yeah.
They're creepy looking to me. Like,
the Oni crab? They're tiny. They're like little balls of gas with like legs. They float around.
They're creepy looking. Look at their... Are you watching the stream?
Yeah, I see that. I'm looking at that picture right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a little jaw on it. I think they're adorable. Like as far as like bottom feeders go.
Ugly and creepy AF.
I think honestly, I think the stupid cow looked creepier than the Oni crab.
Oh, I think the cow's probably delicious.
I guarantee he is.
I can't wait to be a space rancher and have my steaks.
House in space.
Yep.
All right, let's get back to the paragraph. Quotation: Our team has just signed off on the rig for the first creature, meaning we can finally start animating our first interactable creature.
Hooray.
Yes, as exclamation point. So
that's exactly how excited they were.
Yes, they are excited. We are excited to. Yes, I can't wait. I wonder which creature it is. Any guesses?
I think it'll be something small to start. I think the blind Oni crab is probably the best bet, or that what's the rock bug?
Yeah, the rock bug that they haven't really announced, but announced.
Yeah.
I mean, the pyro crab is kind of a given because we're getting pyro soon, so they might want to have it a little more full featured.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility. Yeah. And then finally, the facial team progressed with AI worker animations, including the bartender. They also worked on various performance for AIE, IEE. Gosh, I keep messing up the syllables. Yeah, dyslexia. And the gameplay for delivering a person from one location to another. That is very like, and also.
This is the rescue transport missions that they talked about that were pulled from the roadmap a while ago because they had additional tasks that needed to get done before it could progress. That's what this is. And
didn't we get confirmation that the spirits are being put on the roadmap soon?
Yeah, Jake confirmed that that the spirit is in production. So they are working on the personnel transport missions.
It's going to be
because I guarantee you that will release with the spirit for sure.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
The E1, I would hope that they get all three of them released at once because they are working on bombs right now as well.
Yeah, so it would make sense. Like one's just cargo; they're already working on the bombs, and they're working on the VIP transport. So it would make sense they just all come out. Hello, Access. Welcome. And then wait. Oh, we had 2 animations. Aha! I thought it was a lot shorter. Squadron 42 animation in October. The animation team continued to improve zero-G gameplay that we saw at CitizenCon and animate new weapons. Interesting, including a coil grenade and coil rifle.
I have no idea what that is.
What is
coil?
I don't know. Is it it's not a company because they're not capitalized.
No. It's a type of weapon, but I don't think I've ever heard that mentioned. I don't know about you.
Oh, they are so shiny. They are... Oh, are they just not calling them the Volts? They might just be the Volts. If you look up coil rifle...
Uh-huh.
There's a gun that looks shockingly like the Volt gun. Like an actual gun looks shocking like the bolt gun.
Oh, why wouldn't they just call it that?
I don't know. They do that sometimes. This could also be another thing, but it's like the coil gun looks exactly okay. But coil grenade is it might be a shortened coil grenade launcher.
Is that like a stun grenade or?
But I looked up coil grenade. All I'm seeing is springs. I have no idea what that even is. It's all I'm seeing is springs. All I'm seeing is springs. These are just springs. I have no idea. Not a darn clue. All right, moving on. Then they moved to block out restraint. Then they moved to blocking out restraint animations and created female spec ops and guard animations for the AI team. That sounds like they're done with them. Blockouts were also done for bin rummaging and the beggar. That's great. I love it.
We're getting not shiny hobos.
Yeah. Not shiny. Like that adds a lot of flavor, especially not only that there are beggars and homeless people, but how the environment reacts to them. Mm-hmm. That's a big tell. Not that there are, because there will almost always be in every environment, but how the environment reacts to them is the big tick. Like somewhere in, they're probably not gonna be a lot of them, but they're probably gonna be not so bad off homeless people in Babbage. Like they'll be homeless, but they'll also be like they'll own an apartment or something. Like they'll be homeless or own a business. Babbage would be weird, but there'd be like, let's
it's
say,
just interesting that this is in Squadron 42.
Yeah, specifically.
Like, do we? Yeah, because like in Squadron 42, in the trailer, like you see Admiral Bishop landing on. Yeah, he's landing on Aramis, so maybe we end up down on Aramis as well. But I mean, that'd be really cool because that means that wasn't just a cutscene.
Almost. Yes, almost at the whole wellness. But they'd probably be a lot like better off than like, let's say, a homeless person on Hurston, and you'd almost be like put in prison if you were homeless on Hurston because you're not working. And then like if you go somewhere near, let's say, what's the uppity manufacturer, the uppity ship cell place at ArcCorp? The place where you buy ships.
I can never remember.
Astro Armada. Like if there was a homeless person or a beggar walking into Astro Armada, they'd probably be told or escorted out. But if they walk into like Dumper Depot, they probably take them, like talk to them, ask them how they're going, something like that. How the environment responds is a really strong flavor to an environment. Large change in there. Further work was done on executions, pilot posing, and sharp turns to improve locomotion. Bespoke locomotion was created for the story's characters too. Work was also done on animations for the firing range. They've been working on this thing forever. The rig for the Quartermaster Predators? Quadruped Predators. Quartermaster Predators. Quadruped Predators. I can read, I swear. Dyslexia, stop it. Was also tested. Finally, a 3D mocap shoot was done.
Hold on.
What?
The rig for Quadruped Predators was tested.
Oh no, it's the Vanduul dog!
Yeah, do they have some sort of attack dog thing?
Yeah.
Or is there some sort of predator dog that
there's a Vanduul dog. It's a Vanduul puppy.
Either way, like I don't think I've ever heard that mentioned. Quadruped predators. Like that a little of them just subtly dropping that in there like as if it's nothing.
Yeah. And then in the last paragraph we like get stupid oil rifle. Where's the... I mean, here's a shot of it. Copy image. Copy address. There we go. There you go. That works too. So it was an older SCL gameplay or SCL workday thing.
Oh, geez, that is way old because Xylo's
Yeah.
on there.
We've had some updates. I forget what the scaly one is, but we've seen one in like finished quality, like ZBrush
I bet you
finished
that's
quality.
something that like the pirates use on, as like guard dogs.
They're
on their
FanDuel. They're
planes.
all pirates.
Well, because they have it next to that guy, and he's a very Neanderthal-looking pirate dude.
Well, these are FanDuel specific dogs. Like these are dogs from FanDuel planets.
Did they say that or?
Yes.
Oh, I've never heard that mentioned, so I'm like, what?
It was all in the SCL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they talked about specifically that these were creatures that FanDuel domesticated because they were on FanDuel planets.
So did they like to cuddle by the fire?
Probably cuddle into fire. Like, I would not be shocked if they were if they were like armor-plated dogs, and also like cold-blooded as well. So because the armor plating, the cold blood, they actually just like to cuddle in fire, and so they'll just lunge at you from fire, and they'll like embers will be all over them. Yeah, yep, that's what I can imagine for them. Alrighty, moving right along.
Nightmare
Finally,
Fuel.
yeah, Nightmare Fuel. Exactly, it's a FanDuel. 3D mocap shoot was done on the new Manchester stage, focusing on stealth takedowns and mastery levels. Non-spec ops level components and various social AI improvements to better tie them into the environment. My dyslexia just keeps getting worse. And that is all the AI finally, and the animations. So all the AI stuff should be mostly done. Moving on to art stuff with character art, both PU and Squadron 42 with Tree.
So for PU character art, last month the character art team delivered armor variants for Security Post Korea. So that'll be interesting as we'll have new armors to collect and use. Production started on Frontier workwear outfits and undersuits following work by the character concept art team too. So Frontier workwear outfits and undersuits. Those will be interesting to see. Squadron 42 character art. Character art continued modeling major Navy clothing assets and the Screaming Galson's armor. They also began skinning assets for Shubin. Oh, for Shubin Corporation, because at some point they mention Shubin specific stuff. Or maybe that was something we saw in the Praga Shacker roadmap. I don't remember. I just remember reading about that. Yeah, I just remember like at some point, maybe it was in the previous report where they were talking about industry specific clothes and stuff or armor related to Shubin.
I mean, Grey Cat has an armor set, so
yeah. Tech Animation continued to support character art, processing the remaining scan data for character heads and creating white box rigging for 2 key models. Back to you for art ships, which is the smallest ship art we've ever had.
It's literally a single sentence. Okay, nice. And Axis, all aliens that we know of do have a single planetary origin. The Bandu just forgot theirs, and the Vanduul we haven't had a cordial conversation with, so we just don't know theirs. And currently, there are several clans of Vanduul, so there's also infighting among the Vanduul. So that's just kind of obscured. We know humans, obviously Sol, Earth, and Sol, and we do know the Xi'an's origin planet.
Which they blew up. Yeah, they destroyed.
And then finding which is the origin of the Hadesians may also be a storyline. And we have not met the Kurthak yet because the Xi'an are just, being jerks. On to ship art. The ship team progressed with the Argo SRV, moving the exterior through the final art stage. Back to you for the community.
So I also want to preface with this, like, this isn't the only thing that they worked on.
This is just the only thing they're telling us about.
Yeah, this is just what they're telling us about. They do that for all the teams. They basically go to the teams and hey, give me the highlights of what you worked on. Tell me what you guys got done. The stuff that you want to report, because this is reporting. This is the news, and so they're not going to tell you every last little thing, and so they're working on unannounced ships that we know about that for October, for getting ready for IAE, as well as who knows what else.
November 18th.
Yeah, so they're not going to. They've been telling us about that sort of stuff. Friday. And they could be doing plenty of other things that they just, weren't worthy of mention. So this is what we get on ship art.
Yep.
For community, let's see. Early in October, the community team supported Day of the Vara, the Versus take on Halloween. Citizens hunted down in-game masks, picked up ghoulish green paints for Drake ships, and entered pumpkin carving and trick-or-treat video contests. The team then worked on, speaking of Day of the Vara and Halloween, had a blast with Junior for his very first Halloween. We took him trick-or-treating. He loves Reese's sticks. They're like Kit Kat, but Reese's. He absolutely loved those. We let him have some candy, and he got very angry at me when I tried to take it away, when I was like, oh, you've had enough. And no, he's like, I have not. So yeah, had a lot of fun. He dressed up as a little monkey. It was adorable. The team then worked on Digital Citizen Con 2022. Alongside the developer panels, they unveiled the new community hub. I wish they had YouTube integration, because having to manually post YouTube things is like, okay, I'm not going to go through all this effort. And supported the ship team with their Pick a Ship challenge. Each individual panel and the full show are available to rewatch now. Following the show, Atmo Esports hosted Babbage Bash. That was cool to watch. I enjoyed it. I always try to tune into the Atmo Esports stuff live when I can. A community-led event where players took on developers in an STV race across Microtech. Following its reveal during CitizenCon, the team released the Crusader Spirit Q&A, with Dev answering the community's questions on the new concept ship, and actually clarifying the botched concept release of that, or botched release of the concept information, because that did not go. There was a lot of confusion with the Spirit. The community team also continued their Bar Citizen World Tour with visits to Chicago, New Jersey, Paris, and Madrid. As always, the team wants you to know that your hospitality and warm welcomes are greatly appreciated. We love getting to make new friends and celebrate Star Citizen with all of you. We'll be visiting even more Bar Citizen events in the coming months, so stay tuned, community team. I really hope that the Bar Citizen Salt Lake City people can get their act together. We can have an in-person event, because I would drive down to Salt Lake for that. It's like,
man, I'm like 5 hours from any like large meeting place.
Yeah, it's like 4.5, 5 hours for me to get to Salt Lake, and our little Bar Citizen Boise group is quite small. So,
yeah, I live in a shrinking town of like less than 5,000 people. So,
oh geez, yeah, it's like my hometown.
Yeah.
Back to you for your favorite bit, the engine, and there's actually really
it's big.
It's big, but it's also very good.
Yes, and before I jump into that, I would not be shocked if they are already deep in planning for Squadron 42 return. Not Squadron 42, sorry. CitizenCon return.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep.
I would not be shocked.
Plans that they've been sitting on for a while.
Yeah. Sitting on, refining, like, just how do we refine the entire process? How do we make it not only the biggest, but also the best, but also the most succinct and best experience for the attendees and the non-attendees? I imagine they're doing a whole ton of work. Like, normally they said that this year that they, like, at start of Q2, they'd be, like, well into work for it. I imagine the second they came back, the community team came back from CitizenCon this year, they started parsing out the work for the next year's CitizenCon to make sure that everything is nailed down by the time we get into CitizenCon season next year.
Yeah, CitizenCon next year has to be big. The first in-person one in it'll be 4 years. Because it was.
Are they going to break the 2 stages?
Yeah.
Will there be a third?
Yep, I'm planning to be there, so yeah.
I have no idea yet. Anyway, engine! In October, the physics team worked on various improvements, including brush physicalization, which was put into queues of 32 entries each and forced to be processed in parallel. These are words. Brush finalization was reworked to wait for all brush archetypes and their material clones to be fully physicalized before finalizing the spawned entities. The root spawn batch can now be queried from outside of the entity system. A physics event was added. What?
You guys weren't supposed to see that.
Oh.
We need to move this over here.
A physics event was added for a cluster breakage along with an
Spoiler
entity
alert.
event. Detached the corresponded entity. Words. Additionally, various optimizations were made to improve low-level data access and reduce contention. Also, the physics environment is no longer woken during the bulk destruction of brushes, unless they have a collider. Lastly, severe stalls during the entity deletion as well as the network aspects of breakability were fixed. That's a lot of physics. I am not 100% on what brush physicalization is. Because when they say brush, I think of planets. And I really don't think they're talking about planets. I don't think so. They might be, not a clue.
That's part of the scene render, but I'm not. That's as far as I go with that.
Yeah, no idea on that one. I do know that the no longer woken and bulk destruction thing, those are big things to get rid of. Like, yes, not using or referencing code or not having it present when you're not working with it is a big thing. It's kind of like opening 2 different games and having them both run while you're trying to play one of them instead of being able to just minimize the one and it stop using all the data, or like a Chrome tab. Once you're not on that tab, it stops using the power of your computer. It goes into like a frozen state and it's not woken until you open the tab back up. Then it re-wakes. So same kind of thing. They're using the computer's performance elsewhere instead of having this thing always taking all the resources it could. And then more updates to the physics system, especially during breakage. A lot of breakability things in this paragraph. On the renderer. Yes, the renderer. More progress was made on the Gen 12 transition. A lot of work was done on particles. Yay. Among other things, the Light Atlas stage was rewritten to make use of the material permutation cache. Sure. And a lot of the code in the GPU particle system was refactored and cleaned up. Nice. The particles submission code and its PSO, which I don't know what it is, management were written as well. What is that word? Furthermore, light lists are now managed per scene pass, which will eventually help simplify the tiled shading stage. Additionally, opaque sun shadows for gas clouds, image ghosting, various game post effects, water droplets, flashbangs, ocular migraine. Okay, blood vision, the projectile manager, RTT support functionality, and the renderer target debug viz were ported to Gen 12. That is a ton of stuff. That is a ton of stuff.
Yeah, they're moving over all sorts of things like that. This is the end work.
Yeah, they're fire selling all the stuff.
Yeah, the big things have been ported over. They're getting over the small stuff now.
Yep. Support for transient scene render pass was completed, and collision checks for resource sets were added. Offline queue maps are now use their own pipeline to allow different feature sets. Lastly, lots of optimizations and cleanups were made all around. They did stuff. All right, what is that? PSO management. What is PSO management? Hardlick support office? I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things. None of them seem to be relevant. Okay, moving on then. Regarding atmosphere and volumetric clouds, improvements were made to Gen 12 code by adopting the transient pass made available in September. Furthermore, a preview mode was implemented to help lighting artists set up planets' atmosphere. Wow, cool. Faster.
Yeah, so not only are the
prettier
atmosphere and volumetric clouds already ported over to Gen 12, but they're already optimizing the code for how Gen 12 does those. So
and soon ray tracing in VR.
Yeah, because they are so because those things are so heavily weighted on performance in the areas that we have such bad performance, they've already started optimizing them versus, along with getting everything else ported over to Gen 12, they're already optimizing the things that, are, really heavily, really resource heavy.
On the core engine, the team made additional improvements to the entity lifetime management. This is the thing that's going to give you bullets that shoot farther. This involved adding code to group objects for lifetime management and how entity deletion is handled on stream out. All legacy entity lifetime code was removed. They work fast. The entity allocator was
performance improvements that we got in 3.17 were changes to the ECUS entity component update scheduler, and so this is then making further improvements and changes to that.
Sniper ships coming soon, which is the Idris. The entity allocator was changed to be page-based. Okay, that was the entire sentence. In-engine file mapping support was completed, i.e. faster P4K file access. Pretty sure P4K are highly compressed assets, I think.
Yeah.
3D assets, I think. I could be wrong. Initial steps were done to run all game code through include what you unnecessary header dependencies, which should ultimately lead to faster incremental compile times. Yay! And less data being thrown about on their internal systems, which is money. Like internet costs money when you're moving a 30 gig game around the world several times a day. It's a lot of money. Lastly, in case of file memory allocations, or in case of failed memory allocations, it is now possible to identify relevant code owners and list them in the bug report automatically to speed up the debug process. You screwed up specifically.
This is your bug. Take ownership right now.
That is great. Oh, whose code screwed up? Your code. Mark, get back to work.
They're going to have a big old chart to show that who has the most.
They are definitely going to gain the crap out of this. Oh, that's great. I want to see the score chart. I want to see it.
Why is it always you guys?
And how high or low is Mark on the chart?
Yeah.
The Mark, in case you don't know, because he hasn't been on something in a while, Mark Avent used to host the show Bug Smashers. That has been discontinued because it was 4 times the amount of work that they needed to do for a show. So he's also an engineer, which means anytime they mention code, he's probably touched it. He is one of the OG engineers, not the engine engineers, but just the general game engineers. Let's see, and then lastly, the remainder of the time was spent supporting Alpha 3.18 and the live PU. And with that, you move back to features Arena Commander. I wanted to hear this one. I need to go and come back. All right, I'm gonna leave this to you. Arena feature Arena Commanders, and I will be right back.
Okay.
And I'll speed read up to wherever we are. I'll be right back.
Features Arena Commander. The engineering team began the month with quality of life and bug fixes. They then added additional post-game score awards and fixed the bleed out damage type. The team finished its integration of Alpha 318's deliverables into game dev, with some minor items pending that will be addressed later. They fixed an issue with the test runner in cases where the actor died and added Jericho Station and 4 race maps to the back end, which design also submitted levels and records for. Support continued for radar and scanning for Squadron 42, while part of the team supported an issue with vehicles not exploding upon death. The Arena Commander features team, they added they're working on additional race maps, as well as the Arena Commander map of Jericho Station, and they also provided support to things outside of Arena Commander, which is interesting that they do that. A new concept was made for the dual mode pregame as the team shifts Arena Commander's focus to being the primary competitive ranked mode. The new pregame allows players to select from multiple ships outside of their selected one from the front end, as well as see what their opponent has picked. This will act as the game's initial draft system. Following community feedback, additional ways to improve dual mode itself were discussed and tasked. We're very pleased that the team's direction already matches public opinions. Every topic and issue brought up had already been discussed and scheduled by Arena Commander Feature Team. Feature additions and bug fixing continued for the new Arena Commander 1.5 front end, including adding video backgrounds per game mode. The team also explored how to improve the first deliverable of the new front end, including changes to the layout and how to make the scene feel more like a simulation. Because Arena Commander, Star Marine, Theaters of War, these are all meant to be simulations. They're simulations that you play in a sim pod in game, and it's meant to be an in-lore thing, and it's meant to feel like you are in this sim pod getting ready to play the game as if you are living in the Star Citizen universe. And so basically, they are working really hard to bring all the the game modes up to speed with the PU. In order to everything be on the same level.
Eventually, if Chris has his way, there will only be launch Star Citizen. No menu. You will launch back into the PU, and that is the only option you get. There is no front menu. You then go to arcade or your hangar, wherever the sim pads are, get in them to play Star Marine. Your hangar, the Persistent Universe, the in-game games, everything is accessed through the Persistent Universe. That is his kind of like this far out kind of hope that he wants. So when you launch Star Citizen, there is no main menu. This has not been updated in a while, this kind of idea, but this is something that he stated that he wanted. You just launch the Persistent Universe. Everything happens through that.
I don't think it'll hold just because I think that they'll release things like Theaters of War, Arena Commander, and Star Marine as far as free to play with the
well, they could make it a separate executable.
Yeah, just because that is a way that they can monetize a lot. Because I mean,
because you imagine Theaters of War beating out like Modern Warfare, not Modern Warfare 2, was the Warzone.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is though. Is you release it free to play, you give a whole put a whole bunch of the microtransactions in it for armor and weapon skins, the exact same thing. Well, okay, you buy it for the free to play Warzone, but you also get to have it in the PU if you own the PU, or vice versa, and so it encourages people to play both games, to buy both games, and to buy to do microtransactions because you get more value because you get it for not only in a multiplayer mode but in the PU as well. And for consoles, especially with cross-platform, that's free money. That is so much free money. And like everybody says, oh, they'll continue selling ships into oblivion. I'm like, they won't have to, because that's what microtransactions are for. And if you've got those game modes on console for free with microtransactions as well as on PC, and you get to keep the stuff you buy as well as to use in the PU, that is such an ungodly amount of money. It's silly to think about, and that is why those investors got into Star Citizen Squadron 42. They didn't get in because they want to make $100+ million selling ships. That's chump change compared to what CIG is going for. And if you think otherwise, you're not looking at the big picture.
If you think otherwise, look at the paint system.
Yeah. It is being built and designed the ground up for you to have microtransactions for customization of every fucking thing related to your character, your ship, your base, your hangar, your hab, all that. And whether it's in the PU or in the multiplayer game modes, like that is all just so much low hanging fruit, easy money that they'll sell ships as far as like as part of packages, like game packages, starter packages, but they'll just basically keep you coming back to the PU in order to grind for the next ship, just like every other MMO does. The other MMOs don't charge you another $200 to keep playing the game, because of a new expansion. They'll release, Star Citizen 1.5, and there will be 2 or 3 new ships, and a new star system. That's just how it'll go. A star system will come in with new ships and some changes to features, some additions, more this and that added to the multiplayer game modes, and that's what it'll look like. And they won't have to sell the ship because they know that people will buy the skins, and you'll make way more money doing that than selling ships and having to worry about people being, pay to win. Problem solved.
I imagine when the AC team, feature team, is done with whatever initiative they're working on, because they've been going down the list of a lot of improvements and things that are not random. There's an initiative behind these choices of what they're working on. Like, we've already known that the Series
they'll rehash it too for us. Like when they get to a certain point milestone, they'll be like, this is what we've been working on, this is why, this is where we're going forward.
The Xbox Series X and the PS5 can run Star Citizen. They have the technology, and with Gen 12, even better. So having these arena commanders, game modes on consoles is not that necessarily far off idea, because they are a much easier thing to run than the big full Star Citizen. Mm-hmm. So there's a possibility somewhere in there that their initiative is to make them their own games, however you want, like however they want to parse it out. Either Arena Commander is the game, and you have these different modes: racing, dogfighting, whatever you want to call Star Marine, adjacent to Theaters of War difference. Because arcade shooter and Battlezone shooter. Or they want to do an Arena Commander, a Star Marine, a Theaters of War games specifically. I think, well, no. They have to have some form of idea of what they're going to evolve from Arena Commander. They would not have made it a feature team if there wasn't something they're after, not just polish.
Yeah.
If they wanted polish, they could just spend a team polishing stuff each quarter. You have one more paragraph.
Yep. And the last thing, this is interesting because it tags on to what you were just talking about. Mm-hmm. Design finished their initial pass on 5 new racetracks. Not 1, 5 new racetracks. So that's a lot more racing gameplay that we haven't seen in a long time. A new dogfighting map, Jericho Station, was successfully play-tested and is planned for an upcoming patch. So, yeah, they are adding a lot to Arena Commander. And hopefully, with the additions to racing, I'm hoping that Star Marine will become more the priority in the not-too-distant future. As well as, eventually, Theaters of War. But, yeah.
Theaters of War just becomes a priority.
Yeah. Back to you for character and weapon feature. I'm going to run to the bathroom.
Nice. All right. Character and weapon features. Last month, the feature team improved various existing features, including the ability to vault or mantle over ledges, which can now be triggered mid-jump or fall. This adds further options for the level designers when constructing on-foot traversal puzzles. Players can now look up and down while moving on a ladder to help them see where they are going. Yay. If they stop, they can look around 360 degrees too. This is done by creating an idle animation with 360-degree poses, or 360 poses. The game then picks the frame from the asset that matches players' yaw relative to the ladder. This then becomes the base idle on top of which the team can build other actions. For example, being able to jump away from the ladder facing in that direction. That is, I don't think I've seen a game do that, where every angle of pose, each degree of pose, or vision or direction looking away from the ladder or to the ladder, has its bespoke pose to it. Because most of the time when I see being able to turn on a ladder, it looks like super janky. Like, let's say Minecraft, it's just the character rotating and they're just floating next to the ladder anyway. So it looks like Star Citizen is going to have a realistic way to actually stand there wherever you are turning away from the ladder. So you'll still be holding on to the ladder while you're looking, or even holding it behind you and jumping off of it. So
that sounds extremely unsafe.
No one said that Star Citizen was safe anywhere. In fact, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that just, especially everything Drake, you are going to die. Let's help. And then yes, the ability to move all items from one inventory to another is now in final initial test sweep. Move all button. They're testing a move all button. A number of the features the team have been working on were shown during CitizenCon, and we really appreciate all the positive feedback received. Move all buttons. Move all. That's it. That's all of it.
Yep.
That's kind of
game over. That's all we needed.
Yeah. Game's done.
We're in beta. Congrats.
The image, however, is moving SCU crates with a pyro tool.
Yep. A single SCU crate.
Yeah, a full SCU crate.
Yeah, not a 1/8.
Which is
1 SCU.
Yeah. So in a, I believe
it's a Cuddy Black.
Oh, yeah, it does say Cuddy Black up there. Yeah. Yes, indeed. It is a Cuddy Black. Yeah, no, I know where he's looking now. I know exactly where that is now. He's looking towards the front of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to you for just feature gameplay. Big one.
Right.
And you also have Squadron on this one.
Yep. And yeah, this one has a bunch of good stuff too. It's not as thick as AI, but definitely has a bunch of good stuff in it.
Bigger party box.
Yeah. Bigger party box. Yeah. Yeah, and so there was a leak, and if you're sensitive to leaks, earmuffs, spoiler alert, but there was a leak from the data mining of the 318 game files, that there are multiple sizes of box that you can buy for storing things. So you can buy anything up from a 1/8 SCU all the way to if my math is correct, a 4 SCU container for storing things.
4, not 8? So it's the flat ones?
I'm pretty sure it was 4.
Interesting. Where is that channel?
It's in my Discord. It's going to be way far up, but there was a thing in there that talked about the file names, from what I was told, is the name of the ones that we can buy, and so you'll be able to buy containers of good size in order to fit things in. Keep in mind
here we go,
how big a 1 SCU container is. It's 8 of the little 1/8 mission boxes, and so a 4 SCU container is 32 of those 1/8 boxes. So
what the heck is a 125 by 125?
It's 1.25 meters or something like that. Is the
okay? That's an SCU.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or Or is that? I thought those were 1/8 boxes. Or is it?
I thought they were meter cubed.
I
should
don't
know
remember.
this.
I'm brain farting. Anyway, you do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do the math. I will look at this. So features gameplay. In the U.S., work continued on the initial implementation of the cargo factor and new commodity kiosk UI for Alpha 3.18. Here's the commodity kiosk. It's looking really good. I'm super looking forward to when the whole commodity trading thing just, takes a back seat to actually, hauling under contract. But eventually.
It just looks normal. It just looks boring and just exactly where it needs to be. It just gives you the information. There's no spice. It's just functional. Functional.
Very functional. It looks very clean. And I like the little icons as well that tell you what sort of thing it is.
Yes. And 125 is a standard SCU.
Okay, then those are a lot bigger than I thought they were.
I imagine the 25 by 25 might be 0.25.
That's
like
double.
That's the.
If it's 0.25, if it's 25 by 25, by 25, then it would be a 4 SCU container.
By 1.
Or.
Interesting. So that's a flat one.
No, that would be 8. That would be 8. Sorry. Because it would be a much.
So yeah, that's the. Okay.
And then there was ones that were that but longer. So like
25, 75, 25, 25, 5, 25, 5, 25, 25, 25, 125.
Let's see. This will affect the buying, selling, and moving around single SCU resource cargo containers with the tractor beam after purchase and outside green zones. Gameplay features also continue to support the buying and selling of FPS. See, that's what I was talking about. This is what I thought they were talking about. The FPS refillable RMC containers and the containers created by the Vulture and the Redeemer. So gameplay features also continue to support the buying and selling of FPS refillable RMC containers. Because isn't the prefix in that image RM something or RMC or am I remembering wrong?
Cargo multipurpose dash or _1 _size _a dot CGF.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that the multipurpose was, because RMC is something multipurpose something. I thought that this was referring to those
reusable multipurpose containers.
Maybe. I'll have to look that up afterwards. Updates were made to the prison, including the kiosk, which received new gameplay items. Alongside this, the setup and inventories were adjusted across all shops for new commodities that come with the cargo factor. Ooh, so not only are there new commodities, question is, are we getting improvements to quantum?
Yeah, quantum simulation, quanta are the things that run the code.
Yep. Yeah, with the new commodities, are they going to be testing something? They also updated the shops to support IAE merchandise. The shop setup for Pyro began and is ongoing. UI screens for the commodity kiosk, mission manager, and bounty hunting progressed as well. Mission manager and bounty hunting. Yeah.
Why have we heard that before?
319. Planning and documentation began for freight elevators and subsequent cargo refactor updates, which will begin in Q4 2022. Oh boy. Yeah. Documentation and investigation began into multi and large container cargo delivery missions that could coincide with the delivery of Tier 1 cargo. The Manchester and Frankfurt-based teams progressed with hull scraping, adding the finishing touches and quality of life improvements for its balance pass. Additional time was also put into the fresh derelict harvestables that can spawn in space to make them look more worn and authentic. Those would be really fun and interesting to look to run into. I hope it isn't just an empty ship or pieces of a ship, like that there's stuff, inside of it to EVA in. So if you're not in a Vulture and you run into one, it's still worth your while to explore it. They also worked with the Montreal team to add some not clearly identifiable pieces to debris fields and help the US team with the cargo factor. So probably debris like you have for those debris fields all around those, would look like space station bits and bobs that are in some of the asteroids.
Yeah, where you can just like name that Pokemon ship pieces.
Yeah. The team's work on gravity and life support is approaching final, with the remainder of the work on the resource management system that will bring it all together. They are progressing quite quickly with resource management. Yeah, that's big. That's huge. That they're moving that quickly through resource management. They're getting a lot of work done. If the bones for the system are already in, a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to have to go back and refactor every ship. No, it's not a big deal to add a few things on the front end, the player-facing end. A lot of the ships are already built with this in mind. So like the code. Yeah, the adding of resource management to probably the majority of the ships in game is not going to be some huge technological hurdle. It's a lot of stuff that is on the back end for the ship that we don't even see, with a few little front end things that we interact with that is very easy for them to place given the amount of faux hatches and everything that we have on ships already. The ships were built with this in mind and have been for years. It's not new. Some will need a little bit more work than others, but it really not all that bad of not all that big of a lift. And for Squadron 42 gameplay features, following on from persistent entity streaming, interesting, been saying this for years, the Squadron 42 feature team began implementing the save load system. Squadron 42 uses a version of persistent entity streaming, except for the database is local versus stored remotely. Squadron 42 also uses aspects of server meshing, in that the game creates a faux server client relationship on your machine in order to make it so that way the game is running the simulation, but is only simulating what is needed for you within the object container that you're in. So it's not only the game is running the simulation as if it was the server, but it's also doing the whole server side object container streaming thing for itself, while your client is also doing the object container streaming for what is rendered on your screen. That is how the relationship works. And then the faux server is also, along with your faux client, are using the local first person, single player version of the entity graph in order to stream information in and out in order to record state. And that's part of how they'll be using that as part of the save load system. Because PES stores the state of all entities in the universe, the team can utilize it to save progress. They're currently in the final stages of testing, saving, and reloading, ensuring everything restores correctly. The Mission Manager app is currently being implemented into the player's mobiGlass, allowing them to access the mission briefing, current and completed objectives, and a report on how well they did once the mission is complete. So they're implementing it right now. We're going to see that Mission Manager app added to the PU in not too long.
I'm being very happy. I've cracked the code. I'm building all the SCUs.
Oh, you figured out the maths?
I figured out the math. I see the matrix. So once you're done, once you're done, I'm gonna have you share my screen to show you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's still up. Cool. The additional polish work was given to the new character customizer based on feedback from design. Work continued on the crane mechanic. What the
crap? What's the crane mechanic?
Work continued on the crane mechanic, adding additional modes for varying types of cranes and their functionality. This is how the big SCU containers are gonna get moved around in stations and underground facilities, spaceports, all that. They have different, cranes, as well as the cranes that they're going to take this tech that they're using in building for Squadron 42 and use it in the PU for moving containers. Because it isn't just going to be, when they say cranes, they're not just talking about like an overhead crane, that you see in the Shubin Archon station. They will be also, it's the same sort of tech that'll be used for the moving the big containers. Yeah, may have seen one in the UGF feature. Exactly. Yep. Good call, Robert Vose. Let's see. We're continuing on the crane mechanic, crane, adding additional modes for varying types of cranes, and their functionality. This will allow the operator to attach, drop, and stack crates. So they're building stuff for Squadron that's going to be used alongside the cargo refactor for cargo hauling gameplay in the future. This stuff is already well underway. It's going to be in the game soon. This is not, years away. This is next year. New security token functionality was also worked on to control access to various aspects of a level. And that is it for gameplay features. And I'll go ahead and do your screen share thing. Give me 1 second. I just have to remember how to do it. Let's see. Viewing window, Nazeris. Properties.
Is it on the correct window?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I gotta, copy link.
Which window is it looking at? Discord or SketchUp?
Oh, I was looking at Discord a second ago.
Then I can start there. It is fine.
So I want to look at this. Why is it small? Well, it's up there. It's just small.
Okay.
I mean, it's filling.
Just making some measurements. I'll be right there. Gosh dang, that thing is huge. Absolutely huge. That's 125. Where's it?
All right. So you guys, if you are watching, hanging out with us live, you should be able to see the thing, the leak from Pipeline, aka SC Leaks, of the data mined cargo boxes.
Yes. And as far as you're saying, this is purchasable things.
And this is in my Discord. And so because it says, where were we? Was it this one? Yeah. So where is it? The RMC. There we go. Gameplay features also continue to support the buying and selling of FPS refillable RMC containers and the containers created by the Vulture and the Reclaimer. So refillable RMC containers. I don't know what RMC stands for. I thought it was something, multi-purpose containers. And I assumed that the M in RMC was multi-purpose, not multi-pass, multi-purpose. But
multi-pass.
This could just be just the cargo containers that we're planning.
Remember these numbers, or else we're gonna have to switch a lot back and forth. So it is important that you remember 0, 1 to 5, and then that's the only 4-number code. There's a 3-number code. There's several of those. There's a 2-number code, and there's a 1-number code. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Make it big. This is 125. It's not 125. It's 1.25. This is our standard cargo unit.
Yeah, it's because the interior space is 1 meter cubed, and the exterior is 1.25 meters
yes.
cubed.
So if you add 2.5 onto that, you get 2.5. Not 2 decimals anymore, just 1 decimal. So 0 to 5. And so we have 0125, 0125 by 025. Moving along, we have 025 by 025 by 0125. Moving along again, we have 25 by 25 by 25. And
so
again,
the 25 by 25 by 25 is an 8 SCU container.
yes, is the big square.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have 25 by 25 by 505. Remember, we're only halfway down the list.
So that's a 16 STU container.
That is, yep, that's 16. Then we have a 25 by 25 by 7.5. That is, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 24 SU container.
Wait.
And then 25 by 25 by 1. Remember the place of the 0. 10-meter long container. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 18.
8 16ths. It's a 32 SCU container. So that's the
30.
That's the raft container, and that's the minimum size that a hull C can carry. And I actually didn't think that we would be getting a 24 SCU container. That's interesting. I figured they're just going to double the 16 and go straight from 16 to 30 to 32. But the fact that we're getting a 24 as well is pretty cool.
So there we go. There are hopefully purchasable containers. I want these things so bad. Personally purchasable containers. I cannot wait. I will probably stick to the 16. I don't think I will need more than a 16 for a long time. And the 16 will fit in a lot of cargo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the 16 will be purchasable. Maybe because Robert Rose is saying in chat that the RMC is recycled material composite containers. So refillable, recycle, the buying and selling. So you have to buy the containers in order to fill them. And then
that still might be meaning you can access the inventory.
But that's what I'm like, well, if we're buying them, can we only use them to put the salvaged goop in, or salvage whatever in? The fact that you were able to do that while I was reading through the monthly report is impressive.
I know way too much of SketchUp to not use it professionally. I use it for things like building spaceships and space engineers. I've done a video way long ago on my YouTube where I actually had a cutlass in the background. And I did this kind of thing with the car containers, like doing this kind of thing. Now that we have them again, yay! Big things. So this is a car. This is a standard car model. You can fit quite a lot of vehicles into a 16 SCU. Even more so.
Yeah.
Into the 24.
So my question...
I think the 24 is the one they used to reveal the Dragonfly, right?
I don't know. So, Robert, there is the industrial tractor. Ooh. I don't think we're going to get the industrial tractor with 318 since we're only getting the 1 SCU containers. But before we get the next iteration on the cargo factor, I think we will be getting these. The question, and the cargo is supposed to have dynamic weight. It isn't supposed to be fixed. And so your 1 SCU container, your current multi-tool is supposed to be able to lift 50 kilograms. But it's also supposed to be scaled based off of distance as well. So if you keep your 1/8 SCU mission box that's 50 kilograms close to you, your multi-tool will have no problem lifting it. But the further away you go in a full gravity environment, the less stability it will all scale and translate. So this will have a lot more power, but we don't know how much power this will have. And then from here, then you'll go on to like the question is, will there also be, is this a size 0 tractor beam, or will there be a size 0 for vehicles along with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Because like the
I guarantee the design is there now.
Yeah, and the SRV is older, and so I mean it's not old, but the SRV, the main center tractor beam is meant to be a 3, and the sides are 1s. The raft is only meant to have a size 1 tractor beam. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, the raft is going to be those arms that hold onto the cargo containers. Those go up and down. That's how you unload that cargo, because that size 1 tractor beam is not going to be able to lift a 32 SCU container in a full gravity environment unless it's just filled with nothing. It's meant to,
or helium
moves. Yeah, something moves the container into place. The raft lifts it up into place, because it is just a size 1 tractor beam, at least per the specs that we have now. And the 315P was originally a size 2. I don't think it's going to retain a size 2. I think it's going to probably end up being a size 1 at best, because the original 315P specs were from way, way, way far back.
I wonder if we're going to get a reverse SRV, or if the SRV is going to be the dock tug, the harbor tug.
I don't know.
Because we don't have anything currently. Like, I know it's like supposed to be the Argo MPUV, but it just can't handle this size thing. Even though it is a much better size for a dock worker, the Argo MPUV, the SRV is going to be needed to move, let's just say, a 32 SCU of titanium around.
So
even in space, you still have
the
inertia.
SRV being the intergalactic stevedore, that it was called in its own lore. Squadron 42 leak. The stevedore are the people who work at who are dockyard workers who move boxes, who unload and load ships.
Where is that one?
And so that's in the SRV, the MPUV lore. But in the Squadron 42 leak, there is what looks to me a variant. Earmuffs. I'm going to be talking about the Squadron 42 leak. So, okay, 3, 2, 1. In the Squadron 42 leak, there's a thing that looks like an Argo MPUV that has what looks like are probably magnetic arms that would attach to containers in order to push them around in space outside of a cargo deck. So latches onto those containers that are attached to the cargo, the exterior aspect of the cargo deck, and just turns and pushes it over to your hull C detach.
Did you cover that in your gameplay gameplay?
Nope. All I talked about was the
big ones,
so the capital ships. But yeah, in that video, it shows it in the landing in the what I can only assume is the Shubin station. But yeah, that's between that and
while I'm doing
the whole C. That's how the whole C is going to get loaded.
Well, I'm doing my next bit. Can you find a link so I can go see the SRV?
Oh, I have that video. So after we're done, I'll send it to you.
Well, can you just send it to me through the chat? So while you're doing your next bit, I can go look at it.
I'm not as fast as you.
Just it's okay, fine. Last month, gameplay story continued using motion capture data to update scenes. The main scene worked on was Chapter 11, which, due to the environment layout changing, needed a full implementation pass to get it fully functioning. Several scenes were...
Wow. Oh, you're on gameplay story. I'm just pulling the right thing up on screen, making sure we have it up on OBS. Yes, okay, cool.
Several scenes were also updated to make them work with the AI characters, who now enter and leave smoothly. Start and end poses were updated for scenes in Chapter 4, 6, and 8. Some of these had an extra polish pass to make them function better with the player. Lastly, 2 new scenes were created to allow characters to work on top of the Gladius. As in mechanic work? These are still work in progress and will require a new later date that they have, next door anyway. That being gameplay story, back to you for feature mission.
Okay, there. I sent the link to the video for you. And pull that back up. Gameplay story. So mission features. Oops. There we go. Mission features added final polish to various missions, including a new ending to the prison escape that will add further excitement and challenge. That'll be interesting to see. I always enjoy those videos. They then worked with art to further expand the Jumptown Drug Lab. It has doubled in size and includes a second entrance, second drug dispenser, and multiple windows and skylights to see inside. To improve gunplay on the interior, we made it circular and removed most of the doors for longer sightlines. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new Jumptown lab. That sounds like it's going to be really cool and engaging. Trespass areas were also updated so that lawful trespass and entering hostile areas are now different. The name of the organ control of the area is also shown upon entering, and once access to the area is revoked, e.g. at the end of a mission, players are shown a countdown to when they will be trespassing should they remain. Finally, bugs relating to crime stat and ship collisions were identified and fixed. So it looks like the trespass thing should work more appropriately given the mission that you're on and where you're going, and who you're doing the mission for. So hopefully that's the case, because I've definitely gotten trespassing, crime stats when I was supposed to be somewhere. Back to you for vehicle features.
So you said there's an Argo variant that you saw? Our MPUV variant?
It looks like a variant of the MPUV.
Alright, that's what I'm looking at now. Dang, those arms. It wants to give you a hug.
Mm. It totally makes me think of Homeworld.
Mm-hmm. It just looks functional. It looks perfect. It's an Argo ship. Features vehicle. Last month, vehicle features supported the docking and transit feature. What are they done with that? Hold on, what are they working on? Both continue to be long-term requirements for the team, as each release poses new issues. Particularly with transit, which will likely remain until the launch of the new transit system. Not that they mention anything about that. It's fine. Multifunction displays, MFDs, progressed well, with the weapons, emissions, and ship models submitted and working in-game. The self-status screen also made it into SQ42 UI stream, and tasks were started for the comms and weapon self-status MFDs. Cool, MFDs getting done. Which will bring all these into building blocks and means that they'll have a much easier time making it per ship manufacturer and iterating on for necessary things down the road.
Adding features.
Especially as resource management comes online.
Mm-hmm.
Also, work begun on the new version of Travel, which currently involves refactoring the current feature in preparation for rework. I assume this will bring into a line the quantum travel system with Chris's actual vision. If you want a very long dissertation on what it's supposed to be, Tree has some video somewhere, probably. I forget what. I think we did in an episode. You actually talked about the quantum travel system that Chris actually has in the works, like the final version.
Yeah, his vision.
One of the episodes. Yeah. Basically, we have the very broken version of quantum system according to what it's supposed to be. The team's AI support increased throughout October. This mostly focused on the ship versus player boss fights in Squadron 42, with the Cutlass now flying with its new behaviors on a spline attacking the player. They also supported the flight team with both AI and non-AI requests. Support for the Q4 ship releases begun too, with turning currently in I don't know why my brain can't read that correctly. Along this, the new ground vehicle tech was further developed and will be enabled in a coming sprint. Interesting. Before this, issues with the Drake Mule driving like a tank will be resolved. Does it drive like a tank?
I've never driven the Mule, so.
I've driven it a couple times. It was just fun. I have no problems with it. Master modes progressed well in testing. The team confirmed the speed of SCM boost and quantum travel, and are now testing racing ships and looking into how to balance disabling ships as they change between SCM and QT. I like to put a giant statement on this. This entire system, the master modes, the SCM boost, quantum, racing, and everything that encompasses in those things is in a whole balanced state. It is balanced, but it is in a spot where it can be balanced now. So the speed at which you travel in SCM, the speed at which you travel in quantum boost, the time it takes between the switch, and just all of the things are now able to be balanced independently. And this will change through several of the next upcoming updates. So 318, 319, 40, 401, whatever they call it. And down the road, there will probably be a larger balance path in the future as they balance little cases and then do a nice sweeping overview of the entire system. They are nowhere near done on the balance. So when this comes out, don't look at how unbalanced it is. Look at what needs to change underneath. Is that ship too fast for its roll? Does the roll mean that it should switch faster between the modes? That's the thing. They need feedback when this comes out on the balance of it, not that the entire system is junk, like they got with the hover mode. This is what we're going to have. They've already said this is the system. So like it or not, this is the game now. So give them help when it comes out. Give them feedback on what needs to be balanced per ship roll is the biggest thing. They mentioned that a lot in per ship roll. So they mentioned here that they are now testing racing ships specifically and how the disabling the ship as they change. So it's really important that we are thousands of QA testers, so giving them feedback will help. We also, this is a quote from the vehicle feature team, we also use this opportunity to rebalance a lot of the weapons, redoing the differences in behaviors we had reset for Alpha 314 rework. Nice. Recourse network support continued with the power conversion and initial work on integrating heat components. Yay! The team also currently setting their design support for the feature, as a lot of components will need converting once the technical work is complete. Alongside this, the aiming refactor is now almost complete, with the remaining work focused on implementing the new UI. Cool, new aiming UI. A big step was made on the control surface. Now ships gliding without thrusters have been reduced over previous surface models. Finally, the new restricted area system passed its go, no-go, and is now enabled. Cool. I want to, I don't want it, but I want to see it. I want someone to videotape them doing it. Their ship either getting disabled or their thrusters failing, something going wrong and having to glide a ship down, and wreck their ship, basically, but doing it not just thrusters out, drop, but being able to glide a little ways. And how that works on the Reliant, because it's a wing, but it's like half a meter thick of a wing, and that doesn't look very aerodynamic. I want to see some physics. And you get a fun one. You get a super fun one. Graphics and VFX programming and Planet Tech for both, Planet Tech for Star Citizen, or PU, and then just GFX and VFX. Apparently I have to be right back. I need something for my head. Take it away.
Alrighty, so graphics and VFX programming and Planet Tech. In October, the team continued to focus on damage maps, fixing missing initial damage on debris, incorrect damage map sizes, and inconsistencies between ship sizes. Time was also spent investigating networking and persistence for debris. So yeah, we it'll be great to see when things that get damaged and break off, that they don't just poof and disappear after a few seconds. Further progress was also made on porting gas clouds and CPU particles to Gen 12. The Gen 12 GPU marker refactory was also completed, and some issues were fixed relating to the hair and hologram shaders. For the ongoing data pipeline refactor, the team continued working on skin files, allowing compacted, non-split files to be compiled or loaded. They also implemented process groups in support of multiple input formats. A whole bunch of stuff going way over my head. Development of screen space shadows began, which involved adjusting ray tracing to account for thin objects. Work was also done on anti-aliased lines for aux geometry, editor debug, and UI for use on the star map. They also added new features for the UI mesh shader, multi-scale texturing by triplanar projection, smoothing. A bunch of stuff to make the new UI look great, alongside enabling wetness effects to work with blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, we got to have, not only do we need moist eyeballs, but we need our blood, sweat, and tears to look moist as well. The team closed out Rastar V1. This is why they showed Rastar last Thursday on Inside Star Citizen, because they closed out Rastar V1. As in, Rastar, the tool that they use to make the outposts and settlements and cities, and potentially things in orbit, although I don't know what they mean by that, because we have known for a while that procedural locations tool is what they use to make space stations. So we'll see what that ends up meaning. If we can use Rastar to make our own space stations, who knows? But the team closed out Rastar V1 and fixed the remaining bugs and crashes raised by the content teams. There were also various fixes submitted for rivers, and R&D began on water sim and water rendering improvements. So if you watched our previous episode where my scanner anomaly was going over the procedural locations tool, basically the procedural locations tool is almost as far along as Rastar. And so what they're doing is they're working really hard to get these tools out to the content teams, so that way they can use them in order to start making locations and content with them. And as they start using them and get more familiar with them, they'll go back to the tools teams and be like, hey, can you add this tool within it? It's basically like saying, okay, here is Photoshop. It's the first version of Photoshop. And then as they get to, as they start using it and play around with it in order to make content, they'll go back to the tools teams and be like, hey, can you add a tool inside it to do this, and add a tool to do that? And that's what they were talking about when I was going over the procedural locations tool, is that they've been adding, as they're building up V1 of the procedural locations tool, they're putting in the base functionality that the content teams need for it to make the things that they're going to make. And as they continue to make, need to use it to make new things, they'll add more and more tools to it in order to improve productivity and workflow. And same thing for Rastar, except for Rastar is farther along. So the plan is for next week, we're going to do our Roadmap Roundup and the interview of Shiny Hobo. And when I get back from work, my first scanner anomaly is going to be on, actually we might even do just a spectrum pulse on it, because we just got that big video on it and there's been a good amount of information over the years. But we'll definitely be reporting to you on Rastar and what it is, how it works, both from what we got last Thursday and prior to that.
Ooh. Will they, at CitizenCon 2023, announce the starting of the Pioneer into the production?
Could be. I mean, if Rastar is at version 1 right now, and
I would assume that
the versions
like a year,
proceed, kind of slowly, because basically, like, when they change versions, they're adding in more functionality. So when they add in a whole bunch of things within a group, they'll be like, okay, this is a 0.1 addition to the version. But if they use Rastar in order to make, they've been doing things the old way as well as in a mix. You know, like they've been using making pyro and all the settlements on pyro as that's how like doing it that way is what has informed the development of Rastar. Okay, we need this. It needs to do that. Oh, we need to improve this. So this is bugged, and pyro has been the test bed for Rastar, just like it's also the pyro and going forward Nix are the test beds for the procedural locations tool in order to make settlements and outposts, in order to make underground facilities and asteroid facilities and space stations. But this stuff is cool as shit. You know, the goal is to get Rastar. If you remember, we were at like Planet Tech V1 in 2016. And then by 2019, we're at Planet Tech V4 with a much smaller team working on that tool. And right now we have in 1 year, in basically 1 year and some change, Montreal has taken the procedural locations tool and Rastar from essentially like alpha to release, initial release, for context. So
and I imagine as they go to build whatever city is next, we all assume Cascom. Rastar is going to get another version to help facilitate city. Wow, they're doing Lorville. They're redoing Lorville, so that might be Rastar help. So
they're doing Lorville. It's the Lorville skyline. So
it's not using Rastar at all.
I don't know, and that's what I'm hoping to get more information on over the next year, because like the using Rastar to build cities, that's fairly new information. So it'll be interesting to dig through that and parse it out and be like, okay, this is how far we've been moving along.
We got that. We got the asteroid bases. Each of these like new environments. Yeah, each of these new environments are going to need a lot more features or a lot more robust. So.
And that is it for graphics and VFX programming and Planet Tech. Back to you for lighting.
You did get the Squadron bit?
Oh, whoops. I didn't realize there was one.
There's a Squadron bit.
Yeah. Where?
I think it's just... Where is it? It is... I think it's the first paragraph.
No, it's both. They're both in there. Oh, that's weird.
Focus on damage
last
maps.
month, the graphics and VFX programming team focused on damage maps. This involved fixing crashes and various issues, including... Yeah, that was in there as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Lighting.
Oh, okay. In one they say in October, in one. Okay, so
last month.
It's not that I have an automatic program, but I go into a programic state where I'm like, first word, last word. Do they line up? No. Put it in. If they line up, get rid of it.
You heard it here first. Nazeris just admitted that he's a replicant.
You cannot prove anything. Besides, it'd be a Cylon. Anyway, level design. October saw the FPS team focusing on one of the larger locations. This is also the Squadron 42. I should have mentioned that. This is specifically Squadron 42.
Yep.
That spans multiple chapters. Wow. Is it stupid? They're closing in on finalizing the last few blockouts. So this is the white box. This blockout is almost pre-white box. Like, we want gameplay here. We want computer here. We want balcony here, kind of thing. That's blockout. White box is this is the area, and actually like getting it to a state that you can actually see the area. Blockout is just drag box. This is room. In this environment and gameplay information is way. I should preface what I just said. Every studio is different. Some blockout teams might do it differently. Some may do blockout white box at the same time. We have known CIJ to do gray box at the same time. So every studio is different on which they do when and how.
Yeah. Well, and they say
With
the last few blockouts in this environment. So
yeah,
they could have had like the whole rest of the station done, but they left out, these last few parts of it
right.
for later.
What we saw in the UGS was called White Box, but what we saw in the Lorville show was also White Box. So, blockout for the UGS would have been um, just a giant box saying elevator, control room, hallway, like very like just designation of area is blockout. No shape. Let's see. With the combat AI taking shape, FPS began placing greater emphasis on dialing in enemy confrontations. That was a sentence I had a really hard time with. The flights team continued to elaborate with the design teams to push their first half of the game to a more polished state. Part of the game's dialogue was written before certain mechanics were in a final state, so some of the tutorials were tweaked to accommodate the final designs. They also worked closely with narrative to flesh out some of the quieter gameplay sections. Final designs. That's so they're polishing the first half of the game. They tweaked the tutorials because their mechanics were in final design. I'm not saying that it's 1 to 2 years away, but it sounds like it's 1 to 2 years away. And back to you for one of the shiniest teams, the lighting team.
Lighting continued their work on Pyro, Lorville, IAE, Orison's Racetrack, Security Post Korea, and Derelict Space Settlements. Lorville received a lighting cleanup to improve certain areas, while the level as a whole was tidied up to bring it back to its originally intended state. They also closed out various previous locations to ensure that everything is up to scratch.
Nice. What's up?
And that's it.
Yep. So on to location.
Locations EU.
It's the only one they had this time. The EU locations team continued to work on Pyro's rest stop. Not rest stops. Rest stop. Making great progress on internals of the station. They moved focus towards the station's external arms. Work also closed out on Security Post Korea, and progress was made on IAE Event Hall and Cargo. IAE Event Halls and Cargo?
Yeah.
What cargo? They continued their ongoing task of adding life to landing zones too. What cargo? What is location doing on AIE Hall's cargo? It's nebulous. Here's another pretty big one. Narrative, both SCPU and Squadron 42. Take it away, Tree.
Okay. Narrative. The narrative team continued with detailed reviews of gameplay chapters. In addition to alterations to several existing scenes to improve clarity, a handful of new scenes had dialogue written and scratch audio recorded. This included a scene with two outlaws debating the best way to breach a locked door. A small scene like this serves to provide some flavor and life to the AI combatants. I lost my spot. But also helps to direct the player towards what their next objective is and how to potentially bypass a puzzle. The next steps will be to test the dialogue additions during future playthroughs and make any additional adjustments as needed. Narrative team. development of the dynamic dialogue system continued, which is used by background characters as they go about their lives. This latest pass led to a more concise line set that will allow for greater flexibility with how lines are used to accommodate a variety of scenarios. These background characters are not meant to distract players from scripted character content, but provide a general sense of activity and immersion.
Immersion.
The team added names and description strings for a variety of naval uniforms, bespoke weapons, and military gadgets. Ooh, gadgets. They also reviewed updates to the military mobiGlas with regards to how mission information will be displayed and began the validation process to ensure subtitles match the dialogue as recorded. Sometimes during an actor's performance, they can adjust the line slightly from how it was written, and it's important to us that subtitles are as accurate as possible. And that is...
I'm shocked they didn't make a dynamic tool for it.
Let's see, and we have narrative for the PU as well. As the rush towards IAE and Alpha 318 continued, the narrative team provided additional support to fix bugs and issues that arose through testing. For IAE, they helped deliver new content that was recorded in recent motion capture sessions. This is particularly exciting as we are able to utilize one of our dedicated narrative designers to build the AI behavior to hand over to design to implement. Narrative also started working with mission features on the existing air traffic controller behavior. This will help fix problems with the existing behavior while also supporting the newest upgrades to the system, which will then be standardized for any additional air traffic control characters and scripts in the future. This is in the PU. So they are working on the air traffic control behavior as part of the air traffic control system. It's an actual back-end system that is part of Quantum.
Yeah, because they need to keep track of how many spots they have and how much traffic there is.
Yep. Yeah,
who's leaving,
the
who's coming
stations
in.
are going to be very, very, very busy.
Yes, it's going to be so nice to actually have that difference in noise between nowhere space and a space station and a planet.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really nice to like pull up to a station like after you've been mining for a while or doing missions in random places. They're coming into a station and there's just traffic. And then you go down to a planet and more traffic. But traffic that needs to go a certain direction because light lanes and laws and things. Stations are much more loose on the lanes thing. All right. Are we on to the next one?
No.
Online sources. What?
Nope. Still me. Narrative
Oh,
log.
okay. Narrative log, yes.
They also continue to meet with the mission teams to develop the investigate missions featured in the Narrative Citizen Con video. That awesome that it isn't just for that video. Like they are working on these. They're moving forward with them. They're wanting to get them going. After last month's push, the writers were tasked with coming up with a sample mystery for players to investigate to stress test the foundational system and see how scalable this mission could be. In addition, they provided text for upcoming missions and opened discussions on a handful of other mission types that will be coming in the next few patches. The team worked closely with the design and UI teams on some of the upcoming mobiGlas apps that will support new gameplay currently in development. Throughout October, new content was added to the website, including a Spectrum Spectator that explored the history of CitizenCon, a portfolio spotlighting Stegmans, and the return of Old Jaeger in an installment of Far From Home, which was really good reading, and I actually did that as part of my Lore Equals gameplay, so go check it out on my YouTube, please. Finally, another installment of Galactopedia articles made their way out of the archives and onto the site. That video also just released on my YouTube today, so it is up for you to check out. Tomorrow, my video on the Crossroads, the serialized fiction that just came out, that'll upload, or that goes live tomorrow on my YouTube. So that was also really good reading, and the Galactopedia articles were really fun and engaging to read. A lot of interesting systems to take a look at, so check those videos out. This month's anniversary on CitizenCon marks 10 years worth of content that has made its way into the Spectrum Dispatch section of the website. From the earliest days of the time capsules to Cal Mason, Kid Crimson, and news updates, these weekly updates have been a great opportunity to dive deep into the Star Citizen universe. So we want to say thank you for all the enthusiasm and support over the years. You're welcome, because I'm a lore geek, 100%. And that is it for Narrative. On to you for Online Services Montreal.
All right. Online Services Montreal, the absolute wizards that work over there. Love Canada. The Online Services team spent October completing several remaining features, including the new character repair reset process and how in-game transactions are handled. Interesting. They also improved the new login flow process to allow for faster entry into the game when a player has a entitled account. Would love if you told us what a pre-entitled account is, as well as the new retry service that will resubmit a message back to the service application for a reattempt. You're using big words here. Lastly, the team made a quality of life update that sorts the in-game friends list alphabetically. This is planned to be included in 318. Why not 317.4? Back to you for live tools.
Alrighty, for Live Tools Montreal. Throughout October, the Live Tools team focused on features related. Pardon me.
No dying.
On features related to persistent entity streaming, specifically the implementation of the login flow module in the Network Operations Center. So they told us that they weren't going to be able to update the login flow or get the login flow stuff for PES in the initial implementation. It was one of the services, one of the 18 services that they weren't able to get done, but they are working on it. And so I imagine, because it's one of those things that has to be in before server meshing, in order to, it's part of PES, but it's also will be how you get assigned to which server, based off of the permission, or not permissions, but the authority from the servers. Who has authority over what. So they are working on it. That's going to be like I guarantee you a 319 thing, and the login flow, and the updated login system, not like what you see on the front end, but all the back end stuff is what will make it so that way we can have the appropriate crash recovery stuff. So that way when if there's a 30K and you crash, when you log back in, it will bring you back to where you were, not the station where you last were, the actual heartbeat system where, it basically did a save, just like they were talking about in Squadron 42 with PES. That's all it does, is it basically does a version of the save, like a F5 quick save every few seconds or so, in order to, so that way if there's a crash, it will load up from that most recent save of everything, that it needed to update the entity state in, including your ship, everything that's on your ship, the whole shebang. So this module gathers different features, including the ability to manage entitlements and rentals. It also provides more detailed and precise information to users about the login details of players, enabling the detection and analysis of issues. Back to you for Turbulent Web Platform.
All right. Turbulent Montreal. Web platform. The Turbulent team began the month supporting System 952, including the main event, Greycat Steve, the Crusader Spirit broken page, and then fixed page. The team continued to make improvements to the CSM tool, Alexandria, which supports bespoke web pages. The latest improvements were around the Explore video module, enabling it to add points of interest to video content. A grid module was added to was also created to give another way to display information. Multiple teams from Turbulent contributed to the IAE promotion in November, in about a week or so. For example, a new web skin was developed to emulate the expo hall, and improvements were made to promotional ship wall. Promotional ship wall. Turbulence design team focused on generating brand alignment across the website, losing some of the legacy UI elements. Yeah, losing some of the legacy UI elements and bringing in a new look. Should be the new look because they have a new look. One of Turbulence's biggest launches in October was the release of the new community hub. And here's a quote: "The community hub will emerge slowly as the most relevant place to see contest events and what other community members are live streaming or creating. As more features come online, it will begin to emerge as a social media platform where you can follow your favorite creators and never miss out on an in-game or live event." That is the Turbulent Web Platform team. Finally, the team continued to rework the roles and access controls and improve security. Yay. And then on to one of my favorite teams that you get to cover this time, QA.
Alrighty. QA. QA continued to support cinematics by reproducing issues found during development and chasing up outstanding bugs. This is QA for Squadron 42. Last month, focus was on bug validation and reporting alongside recording scenes for review. In addition, QA pushed general editor testing forward to ensure the tools used by the team are working as intended and the development workflow remains stable. A new embedded role was assigned to allow for more in-depth testing and more concise feedback. And back to you for UI, which we love. We love UI. UI is our friend.
We have both PU and SQ42. Okay. All right. The UI team continued developing the new star map, particularly the underlying tech that to allow them to easily display it in different locations. For example, in a ship, the mobiGlass, the potential screens and levels. They're also updating the controls and improved the look of planets, which is really nice. Look of planets in a map is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Alongside really working
cool
on
if the star map is like, if they have it up on, a big wall screen in the spaceports,
not to mention the character table.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. But they say screens and levels, so I'm immediately thinking like, having that, using the star map in order to show, like flight routes, at the spaceports, as if you're at like an actual airport and, you can see, these flights are moving here and there. This flight will be arriving here soon. Mm-hmm. This flight.
Don't they have that one of the landing zones?
I don't know if they have. I haven't seen it. But I mean, they have,
not a functional one, but they have like a placeholder.
Yeah. But for, as part of like visualizing, a commercial passenger spaceport and being able to, see, like traffic moving across the system. Or
I know they've had, it might have been ArcCorp, but I don't remember. I haven't been to a lot of the landing zones in a while. Where were we at? All right, alongside working on the interactive prompts seen at CitizenCon, please, CIG, if you ever hear this, please remove the tell me what key to press. Please, it's the only thing wrong with it. Everything is F. Everything is just F. It doesn't need to show me press F to interact. Just tell me what it is.
Can't wait.
Anyway. UI continued to adapt and bug fix the loadout system to ensure it works with persistent anti-streaming. The loadout system is the locker system, basically. Same difference. Mm-hmm. Being able to put your entire loadout in a thing and swap out what your loadout is with what's in the closet or the locker. People get confused about that for some reason. That's what it is. It is the player interaction lockers and inventories. That's the tile on the progress tracker. And then in Squadron 42 UI, last month, the UI team continued to work closely with the vehicle team on heads-up display, HUD, and multifunction displays, MFD. We talked about this a little earlier. This involved adjusting the HUD to incorporate new elements along with the working or reworking the UI style of one manufacturer to give it more character and make it feel more unique. Now that the vehicle team has some of the new MFD screens working in game, a pass was done to improve their appearance and help with the building blocks UI sub to create a solid template to work from going forward. And lastly, UI also concepted several more interaction screens for gameplay puzzles and made visual and control improvements to the star map.
Excellent.
And finally, our last team, or teams, VFX, both Squadron 42 and Universe.
October saw the VFX team complete this for the PU, complete their work on the salvage and repair feature. Oh boy, can't wait. 2 vehicles continued through the VFX production phase, receiving effects for thrusters, damage, atmospheric entry, quantum travel, and shields. 2 vehicles, and they must be unannounced because they said vehicles, not the names. And with atmospheric entry, quantum travel, and shields, they're talking about ships, so we can assume that one is the Pisces medical variant that we saw in the IE trailer, and that the other is the unannounced Drake ship that everybody's been speculating about. The team also implemented a task pool, which allows the artist to, it could be those ones, or they're already done. Who knows? Maybe it's something that's later on. The team also implemented a task pool, which allows the artist to tackle various miscellaneous tasks that have accumulated in the backlog. This typically consists of minor bugs and quality of life improvements, so it has been great to be able to focus on these things while continuing to support major content and features. VFX team. For VFX for Squadron 42, in October, the VFX team continued overhauling the particle library, making the most of several improvements to the particle system to allow for greater flexibility. This includes being able to override various settings per effect in a level, letting the artists focus on a higher quality of effect without having to maintain each instance version. Further improvements were made to the new quantum travel effects, with new refractive particles spawning around a ship's assigned distance field. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new quantum travel. Having it look well or look good, have it be performant. Right now there's just so much jittering and janking with quantum travel. It's just really, really bad. Finally, the VFX team implemented a task pool. Same thing as from the PU. That is it for the combined Squadron 42 and PU monthly reports. We did it.
Do you think the Star One's going to be in 318 or 40?
Say what?
Do you think the Star One's going to try and eke its way into 318 or are they going to wait to 40?
Oh, it'll be next year. I guarantee you we will be seeing it on ISC this quarter and next. I would not be surprised if it is a Q1 thing for 319 or a 4.0 thing later on in the year. But with the progress that they're making on it, it's the base functionality is in. They're adding more things and polishing it. So it's beyond the new Star, because they're already doing the stuff in order to put it in more places than just in your mobiGlas. So we are well on our way. This is not a thing that's going to be 2 years out. Sorry, Os Veteran, you're wrong, bud. You're patently false. There's no way in hell with the progress that they're making that it'll be 2 more years when they're nearly they've done the majority of it within the last several months.
Yeah, and a lot of it is it's now dynamic, and like the FPS radar map for ships, they don't have to do anything. It's already in the game. Their system just reads the ship and it's done, which is just amazing. The only thing they need to do is a couple of the markups for the map, and that's like a ship. Like depending on the size of the ship, you could spend 10 minutes to.
The layout is already built into it. What they have to do is mark up things like doors, and other things.
Cargo areas. That should be a relatively simple task. So you could get several ships done a day.
It's a systemic thing because you're like, okay, all anvil doors are marked up like this, and they just go through. Here are the anvil doors, the crusader doors, because they use the same door over and over and over again with the ships. But yeah, the star map is a not too distant future thing at all. Thank goodness. But that's why that's why we're here. That's why we read the monthly reports to keep track of this stuff. That's why we every other week we go over the progress tracker and look at it in detail. So the progress tracker update, the roadmap update comes out on Wednesday, and next Monday we'll be interviewing Shiny Hobo, the creator of the Shiny Tracker, which we always go in detail on, because a lot sometimes there's big updates to it, sometimes there's not. But yeah,
this one should be substantial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there should be some more additions and changes going forward, because there's a lot of movement with the teams going on right now. Hopefully there's got interesting stuff on it. Isn't just a very short one. We've got we're going to interview the creator, but there's nothing to show with this week. Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta do bed. I gotta be at work in 6 hours.
Alrighty. Well, and if you want to sign off, go right on ahead. I just want to give one last channel update. For those of you who watched it live or caught it on my YouTube, the first episode of Armchair Admirals and Generals went really well. And we have taken a lot of really great constructive feedback, so we want to say thank you for that. But the next episode is on Friday. The event posting is in my Discord, so if you want to get notifications of all the events like the Pathfinders podcast, Armchair Admirals and Generals, Lore Equals Gameplay, co-op game nights, when I'm going to be doing lore relic hunts, all that stuff, it's posted in my Discord as well as on Twitter. But this Friday it's 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Mountain, which is where I'm at. We're doing the second episode of Armchair Admirals and Generals. And we're going to be talking about the logistics of Pyro and resource management, keeping the conversations a little bit more concise and focused. So that way it's not as long of a podcast. And then when I upload it on YouTube, it will be in 2 separate segments to make it a bit more digestible as well. So we are taking your feedback and incorporating it just like we do here on Pathfinders. So like this episode for Pathfinders, the whole thing will be, we can't break it up. I'm not going to break it up into individual segments, but it's the whole thing. But when we do our, with the previous episode and going forward, whenever we do the scanner anomalies, spectrum pulses, all that stuff, it'll be uploaded as separate episodes along with the full length episodes. So if you just want to watch one bit, it's there for you on my YouTube. So if you catch my stuff later, on YouTube, our stuff later on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, feed the algorithm. Every little bit helps, and we really appreciate it. But that's all I have. Nazeris, why don't you sign us off for the evening as usual?
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This does take a lot to remember. That's why we are here, providing you the value of remembering, and you guys just get to digest the pure enthusiasm that we have for the game.
We're baby birding you, Star Citizen development.
And you get the audio version, which I've always wanted for everything I've ever done. Now I'm the one doing the audio version, so it's fine. It's great. I hope you all have enjoyed. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching this afterwards. Thank you for listening to it wherever, audio is sold. And with that, have a good night, everyone. And as always, be kind.